What do you think of SmackDown?
What I think of SmackDown? I couldn't believe they ended the show the way they did. I was, baffled. I thought some of the matches were good. I thought AJ and Drew Gulak was incredibly one-sided to the point where I was stunned. I mean, I knew AJ would win, and it was a good match.
Dude, they didn't even do ring introductions for that match. That was an Intercontinental title match, and they come back to commercial, and they're just in the ring wrestling.
I know.
I was like, how in God's name am I supposed to be... How can you take this seriously? You didn't even have a ring introduction.
When the match started, I'm going wait a minute. I thought this was a title match.
It was a title match.
And it was a title match. I know this was advertised as a title match. Yeah, I noticed that too. And they also piped in that fake sound in the match, so that kind of took me out of it too. But I mean, AJ's such a great worker, and Drew Gulak is too. I mean, what they did was solid, but I'm watching this going this is a squash match, and it's like a 15-minute squash match. Drew gets one bit of, one comeback that's of any note, and it wasn't even that big. And then AJ Styles beats him clean, while you have Daniel Bryan on Zoom, which it's almost like, if it's me, I'd rather not even have him, because having him on Zoom the way they did, it just felt so... we're trying to hide something or whatever.
Well, it's not even that, but he's on Zoom and he's putting over Gulak and talking about how he thinks he's going to win and how he's given, and he just gets squashed.
And he's putting over Gulak. He's putting over Gulak because he puts over Gulak nobody, nobody can beat me in heel hooks, but he did. So it's okay, he's building to a big heel hook spot. And then the match ended. It's where was the heel hook spot?
There was no heel hook spot. And if he's so great, why did he get squashed here?
Yeah, I know. It was so weird. I thought John Morrison looked really good against Matt Riddle. I actually didn't think Matt Riddle looked that great. It was a good match, but Riddle was off on a couple of things. But Morrison looked like the star of the two. But it's, they didn't, Riddle's in week 2, I'm waiting for the week where Vince goes, he doesn't have it.
Well, it's usually week 3, so we got maybe one more good week out of this, and then it's rolling the dice.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the Bayley and Alexa Bliss match was nothing. What a terrible finish. So that wasn't particularly good. Kofi Kingston and Nakamura was a good match, and made sense. Set up the tag team title match, which you're doing on TV, not on the pay-per-view next week. And then the Sheamus and Jeff Hardy thing, which if Sheamus was there, I think the segment still would have been nothing that you end the show with. But maybe it wouldn't have been as bad. But I'm watching this and it's this is the last segment of the show. And our last thing is some dude named Jeeves that we don't know, that Jeff Hardy's picking on. I'm watching this going I know if there was a crowd here, they're all going to cheer Jeff Hardy, so it would work. But without the crowd doing that, I'm watching this going Jeff Hardy's the heel here. I mean, this guy didn't do anything but pour him. Okay, I know he's I hate the angle anyway. I just hate the idea of playing off Jeff Hardy. I am an alcoholic.
Jeff Hardy looked like he wanted to be anywhere but doing this segment.
Well, I want
all of these segments, actually.
But who wants to see this?
Well, it's not even that. It's we've watched this now for weeks. Okay, they had a match, and Sheamus won, and now Sheamus is out here, and he's still harping on him about the drinking. And as a fan, I'm just thinking, okay, Sheamus, what do you want, dude? You beat the guy, you're out here what is the end game here?
I'm sure they're building to some...
Well, they're doing a bad job, because as a fan, I'm get to the point. What do you want? You're out here yelling at this guy in the main event segment here. You're having some bartender
Zoom.
Come out to offer him a drink.
Fucking Zoom. If he was there again, maybe... If he's not going to be there, they shouldn't have even done the angle. Wait till he comes back.
If we're going to take away angles from people that can't be there, we're going to have some short shows here, because everybody's on Zoom. Ray and Dominic are on Zoom. Daniel Bryan's on Zoom. Sheamus on Zoom.
Well, it's different, okay? Daniel Bryan on Zoom didn't help any, but it wasn't like it was a shitty segment. It just made no sense. Ray and Dominic on Zoom was just fine for what they were doing, but the Sheamus segment, he needed to be there. And without it, it just was so flat. It was just, but I mean, I don't know how good it would have been even with him there, because I probably wouldn't have liked it anyway. But I'm watching, but at least like if he's there, at least you get the spot where Jeff Hardy, pours the bottle over on his head and breaks the bottle on him and hits the senton on him at the end of the thing. So at least you get that, which is okay, because again, Jeff needs to get some revenge for losing that first match. But he got revenge on frickin' Jeeves, so it's like he didn't even do that. And it's just like, and why is Sheamus not here? Okay, I mean, I know why he's not here, but it's kind of like, don't do the segment this week, that's a segment where the guy has to be there. And if he can't be there, just put on another match. There's plenty of people in the locker room that are there that you can have do a match. But, and that's the other thing. Why advertise it? Because like when they advertised, I thought, oh, okay, Sheamus is going to be back next week. No, why even, I don't know. So I wasn't too happy with that. So the rating was the lowest ever. Now, it means nothing to me this week. If they have another rating similar to this next week, then that's significant. It could just be July 3rd and, people weren't around. I mean, I don't get upset over 1 week. I don't think that you should ever go too crazy over 1 week. But 2 weeks is a pattern. I know it wasn't going to be last week, but, the one thing is Raw did one of the lowest numbers ever on Monday, and NXT did, better than, NXT did actually one of their best numbers of the year. Not in 18 to 49s, but one of their best. But they're down to 0.4 now, Smackdown. And it's like, dude, geez, 0.4? You know what I mean? I mean, that's basically where AEW with competition on TNT in 25 million less homes. In 25 million less homes, AEW was doing close to 0.4s not all that long ago. And if we didn't have the pandemic, they probably would be doing that right now. Of course, then again, if we didn't have the pandemic, I'm sure the Smackdown number would be up too. So that's probably not a fair thing to say. But the point is like, it is, 05 was not good. 04 is really bad. And, for that show. So it's, and we don't have sports back yet. I mean, the thing is with all of these shows, we're going to have NBA and we're going to have Major League Baseball real soon. And that's not going to help, especially with flat. And the thing with WWE is, and this is, forget about the ratings this week or next week or whatever. The reality is WWE is doing an absolutely terrible job of building its future. Terrible. I mean, again, next week they're going to put, the Bray Wyatt Braun Strowman match, which, I mean, the match sucked, but it's still a marquee match, and they're going to replay a pay-per-view match. Maybe that'll help. But even if it does, it's like, what does that really mean? You're not creating, you're building everything around Jeff Hardy being a reformed alcoholic. That's not your future. As much as like, telling everyone Jeff Hardy's in his last run, that's not your future. I mean, Jeff's borderline the future anyway, but by telling people he's old, then he's certainly not your future. And they're, what did they do for anyone in the future? I mean, Matt Riddle beat John Morrison. That's it. That is it. And again, like you said, 3 weeks from now, who knows what Vince is going to think about Matt Riddle. Well, it looks like we got some
mixed reaction to that on Twitter, but I think we can all agree on one thing, and that is that this Friday Night Smackdown show was a waste of fucking time on Friday. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I thought it was a very weak show, especially, I'll tell you what, okay, the karaoke thing, I don't even know what they were thinking, because it's like, when it was over...
Get nobody over?
It's not even that it got nobody over. It just was bad TV. And also, the other thing is like, and maybe I'm biased because it just reminded me of something. So they're doing this match. Okay. So they do the thing and they do the karaoke and then everybody fights and they end up doing a match where they're in their costumes. So, Lacey Evans is wrestling in a dress and it's like, and with no shoes because they're not wearing wrestling boots. They came out in heels. So when they started their fight, thankfully they did not do the match in heels, but they did do the match where she's wearing a dress, and it just looks so minor league and old. Like it looks like they took women's wrestling back 10 years to that, bullshit stuff they used to do to have that, I mean, it's just, I felt so bad for Lacey Evans having to do this match with no shoes and a dress. And the whole idea when you wrestle in a dress is like, what the idea is. And it's like, I thought we evolved. Number one, I thought we evolved past it, but number two, even more, the timing of that, considering what we've been going through in this business in the last 3 weeks, it's like, of all the frickin' tone-deaf weeks to take women's wrestling back 10 years, you're going to do it this week? Jesus Christ. I mean, I just, I have to tell the story. It's from Terry Power, okay? She started out in Portland. When the Grappler was the booker. This is early in her career, before she was a wrestler. She was kind of a valet. This is, I'm going to say, late 80s, because she told me this story in, I'm going to say 1993 or 94. 93, I'm going to say, in Japan. And she was just talking about how she had to do matches in dresses and how absolutely humiliating it was that she had to do matches in dresses, but the Grappler basically said that you're not here to be a wrestler, you're here to do a match in a dress. And, she was just so uncomfortable. And, and by this point she's in Japan wrestling and she's wrestling, you know what I mean? She's evolved past that, but she was complaining to me about her start in wrestling and, how, basically she's told that she's not a wrestler. She's, a piece of ass or whatever the term was. It was a term like that. I don't think those were the words, but it was a term. Okay. Some term similar to that, but the whole thing of this is what you're here for. And I'm watching, Lacey Evans, the classy, sassy Southern Belle, and they're putting her in that same role in 2020. I'm talking, the story I'm telling is 1989 probably, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, and it wasn't even good that way. It just wasn't good. And the match and that wasn't good. And that main event, the New Day for the title, used to do cheap double DQ in an 8-minute match, that at times was quite good because Cesaro was really good. I mean, Nakamura, not so much, but Cesaro was awesome. But yeah, and then what, Miz and Morrison and,
setting up Jeff Hardy and Sheamus in a bar fight.
So we're probably going to have
rules.
So we're going to have like 3 of those matches, 3 cinematic matches, right? Because Ray and Seth Rollins is so, I guess we're in a pandemic. Why not? But, I don't know. I have a feeling that 3 on one show, that may be overkill. I think that 1 on a show is cool, but 3 feels like you're getting carried away. And then I'm guessing, no one's told me this, but this is a big mistake that I'm making because I haven't talked to anybody since I watched this morning, but watching that New Day match with Nakamura and Cesaro, and the fact that they powerbombed both of them through a table at the end makes me think that we're going to have a rematch in a tables match, which is just like, and tables matches are always, just, I don't know, they're watered down, whatever, because it's like the finish is you put someone through the table, you know what I mean? You, after a million misses, and it's a very redundant style of match. They're almost never good. And these guys, if they just had a regular match with, 13 minutes and a finish, it'd be pretty damn good. But we're going to put them in a match that's probably not going to be good after a first match that wasn't good also. So yeah, I didn't think much of the Smackdown show. And, the rating was up. I mean, the July 3rd rating is very much, I think it's very obvious it was very much July 3rd. That's what the issue was. And now it's back to...
This still wasn't a great number.
No, 1.9 million. No, it's not. It's not. But this is the real number, though. This is where we're at. The number is where we're at. I mean, so whatever. So next week's going to be the AJ Styles Matt Riddle match is going to be on TV next week rather than.
That's right. Title match on television.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to build for a rematch on the pay-per-view. I mean, I guess
Which is funny because, like, the idea, I mean, obviously the idea of putting the title match on television is we could put this on pay-per-view, but hey, we need to build up these television ratings, so let's put the match on television for free.
Right.
Dude, after watching this tag title match, they put on SmackDown 2 tag title matches, if I recall correctly, because they had the women's title match, which was just like, it was okay.
The women's match was non-title.
Non-title. Well, regardless, I mean, it was just like, it was a match. And then the men's title match, double DQ. Like, I mean, maybe they'll give us a finish on this, but
well, I mean,
I'm certainly not excited about seeing this match after seeing the title match that they did this week.
If they give us a tables match, they will give us a finish. As far as AJ and Matt Riddle, I mean, what are you going to do? You either put the title on Matt Riddle or you do a fluke finish, because AJ beating Matt Riddle makes no sense for next week. I mean, at some point it might make sense, but it doesn't make any sense for this coming Friday. So that tells me that you're probably going to do a DQ finish to set up, something. But, I mean, like the idea is the double DQ doesn't count because we're putting guys through tables at the end. That's like the mentality. But to me,
that's a stupid mentality, because I'm watching as a fan, and it absolutely does count. I waited the whole show to watch this tag title match, and you give me a double DQ bullshit. It wasn't even a good.
And it wasn't even a good double DQ. It was like they're just in the ring. Like it's like, I know WWE.
It broke down into a 4-way, which I write when I review every single fucking tag match ever. And this time it broke down into a 4-way, and the ref called for the bell.
Yeah. Well, you could see it was a different kind of a 4-way than usual, because as soon as they broke down in the 4-way, I go, I knew immediately they were doing the double DQ. I go, because it's like they just do it a little bit different. And it's like, oh my God, we're getting a double DQ, right now. So anyway, that's what we got. Yeah. Not a good SmackDown show. Rating 1.9 million, but 0.5 and 18 to 49. And, that's the normal number for where we're at right now. And so, whatever with the tag team title match.
Let's get SmackDown over with now.
What do you want to talk about?
That it sucks. The show's terrible lately.
Well, it wasn't as bad as the week before, but
it's low praise.
Yeah, well,
let's see. We beat
the Matt Riddle AJ Styles match. Look, I kind of knew that the idea was that Matt Riddle was going to lose and that it was going to lead to Matt Riddle and Baron Corbin. So I figure, okay, it's not a good idea, but Baron Corbin's going to cost him the match. No, Matt Riddle lost clean, and then Baron Corbin beats him up. But I mean, it's like, I was watching the Styles Riddle match, and it's like, if they were going to beat him clean, they should not have done the match now. I mean, wait a couple of months. This is like, what was it, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in, and you're already beating the guy? And I mean,
they had to let you know right off the bat, he's not that good.
I know. So it's like they need to make stars. They know they need to make stars, and they can't book to make a new star, especially a new babyface star. And you could even hear in the commentary, like, the whole mentality is like, well, he came close with AJ, and it's like, wonderful. That makes you a great third match wrestler because you came close with AJ. It's like, I could not perceive. I was thinking of, like, when you bring a new hot babyface into a territory, and I was thinking, like, what would, different promoter, Bill Watts, no doubt, putting the guy over. That's what the top heel, especially a guy like AJ, who, I mean, AJ's got so much tenure and he's such a fantastic wrestler, and he can lose, and it's no big deal. But, the whole thing is like, well, he beat AJ once, so now it's AJ's turn. And it's like, no, you got to make frickin' stars. And AJ's going to be a star there forever because he's great, and he's been booked great. And, you don't need to put him over. And if you are so concerned about, you don't want to beat AJ again, or you don't want to take the title off of AJ, don't do the frickin' match. Make it a chase. Make it a deal where, AJ just goes, I'm not going to wrestle Matt Riddle. And it's like he beat me on a fluke, but he's not on my league. And have Matt Riddle beat people for 4 straight months. And then when you get there, Matt Riddle has to win. Instead of, basically it's exactly what you said. It's like he comes in, he beats AJ. Now that's worthless because AJ just beat him clean. So it's like, why did you even bother with him and AJ? Why don't you just start him off with Baron Corbin? And don't beat him. It's just like they, and their whole, that whole mentality. The worst thing that ever happened was that Daniel Bryan stuff, because it's like they've completely lost their minds when it comes to booking babyface. I mean, Daniel Bryan did get beat on forever and lose over and over and over and did get over. But how many guys have they had that mentality with since? And like not one of them has gotten over that they've tried this with, and this guy's, it was just so counterproductive. It's like, I mean, the idea, if you think it's too early for Matt Riddle to win a championship, and but sometimes you make a star by having him come into the territory and just win a freaking championship and beat a top guy, and now he's a top guy. But if you think that you don't want to put the belt on him, it's too early to put the belt on him, then keep him away from the championship. And then when he finally gets to a title match, it's a big deal because he's you're waiting for the title match. Instead, it's like you basically have done this thing where, okay, we know Matt Riddle is just like Humberto Carrillo and Ricochet and Cedric and every other guy that got, 3 weeks of wins, and then we beat him. And this is another guy that we do not need to invest our intention in because we know the outcome. And it was just ridiculous. I know some people are going to go, well, what about what Cody's doing? And it's like, he didn't do it with Matt Riddle. These other guys, it's a completely different thing. And some of those guys need wins too, but it's a completely different dynamic for a guy who, WWE needs to pull the trigger on guys because they've already taught people that, nobody, that essentially we don't make stars anymore. And, that's part of the problem. That is like, but like that when Matt Riddle got pinned the way he did, and then Baron Corbin comes in and gives him the end of days, it was just like that like to me is in a nutshell of why they can't make stars, because they don't know how to book.
With that, we had Braun Strowman squashing John Morrison. That one pissed me off.
Yeah. It was like a 1-minute squash. So, Morrison's a great wrestler. He should be used better. I mean, the whole mentality is that, they're going to build their main event, and the other guys are there to get the main event over. And I get that. And I get that, more, but you don't have to squash Morrison in a minute either. And especially like, I don't think it ever makes, like, I don't think that you're ever a star if you're afraid to do a match and trying to back out of the match and then you get squashed. I mean, it was just not a good portrayal of Morrison, and he's so talented. And I mean, the whole thing with him is like, he came back and he was much better than he was when he left. Better promo. I wouldn't say, I mean, a more experienced wrestler. I mean, he was a really great acrobatic wrestler before he left, but I think he's a better wrestler now because of the different places that he's been to and everything. And he comes back and it's like they put him in the exact same position he was in before. I mean, he's another one. He could be like a big star. He's got it, and they just see him as the same guy that left, whatever it was, 8 years ago.
Nikki Cross, weak challenger, pinned for the second straight week.
I mean, the only thing I could think of with Nikki Cross is that she's winning the title tomorrow. But That's so stupid.
That's going to make that title mean an awful lot.
I mean, the thing is, like, Bayley and Sasha Banks are one of the few acts in the company that are really clicking. And the idea of Bayley with both titles and everything, I mean, Bayley's done a really good job in this position. And it's just, I mean, I guess she could lose because Sasha screws up and it leads to Bayley and Sasha. And obviously that's where they're going, and everyone knows that's where they're going. But you know what? They don't need to rush this because they actually have like those two as a tag team have a really good act. And Nikki Cross should not be winning this championship, but Nikki Cross should not have gotten pinned by Bayley 2 weeks in a row leading to this match either. So it's like their booking's atrocious. So there you go.
And the rating, atrocious.
The rating's the rating. You know, I mean, I know nobody's ratings are good right now, although AEW did have a really good rating this week for them. But yeah, everything with WWE's been not so good. So this was the second lowest in 18 to 49 and probably will end up being the second lowest overall, other than that July 3rd show. So, but you know, we're on a steady stream down. So we're going to be hitting lows every week. And this was another one.
Well, SmackDown this week did have the bar fight, and it was a bar fight. They fought in a bar, and
yeah, I mean, the problem is that again, we are going to the well one time too many, and it paled in comparison to the other one, which that's not their fault. They didn't know it at the time. It was fine for what it was. It's kind of goofy, and but whatever. I just thought like the harping on Jeff Hardy being an alcoholic, it's just so overdone. I don't know. It doesn't work for me.
Dude, they've been doing it for months now. Hopefully it's over.
Probably will never be over. But who knows? Maybe the feud's over. I mean, it was a cool spot where, Sheamus hit him with a chair and he was knocked out and put his hat over him. And then he comes back with a face paint and makes the big Superman comeback and everything. So, whatever. That was cool. I mean, it was an easy show to watch. I didn't have any real problem with SmackDown, but it's still, it's just what it is. It's, one of the things was, that younger audience is shifting away. I mean, it's getting real close. They're almost the Monday, Friday, and Wednesday AEW are Wednesday AEW and then Raw and SmackDown in 18 to 34. They're real close. I mean, WWE still has a little bit of an edge, but if you took NXT out, AEW would actually be winning easily in that demo, which should never happen, considering the time frame that all these shows have been in. But that's another thing. I mean, it's people have been talking about, is this like a shift? And I said, it's not a shift yet, but if you open your eyes, it could be a shift. It could be. It's a little early to call it, but, it's, if I was WWE, man, I would have my eyes open because it's like, there's no way this should be happening. Modernize, wake up.
Well, I know what you would do, but I mean, they've been having problems forever now, and it's the same thing every time. I mean, we never see modernizing. I mean, we got Lindsay Dorado or Grand Metalik is getting a title shot next week. It's like, I'll throw this guy a bone.
Well, I'm not sure that maybe they'll do AJ and Grand Metalik, and maybe they'll put somebody under the Grand Metalik mask and have him beat AJ and unmask. I mean, that they could do that one too, which has been done before, and maybe it'll work. I don't, or maybe they'll just have AJ wrestle a guy who is a great wrestler, and maybe, Daniel Bryan's got a lot of input into the show, and he knows how great, Grand Metalik is. So he may have pushed for it, and it may be a great match. But as I'm sure, it's like you can't have a guy be a job guy for like a year and then put him in a title match after one win and expect it to resonate. You need a lot more than just 1 week. But you can say the same with AEW. I mean, they sometimes do stuff like that.
You say that about every promotion. I mean, it's not just about having great matches. I mean, people want to see new stars. They want to see people move up in the ranks. They want to see people win and lose.
They want to see new stars, and WWE doesn't give them new stars. And that's, in a nutshell, the problem. that we talk about every single week when, whatever it is, when these guys are on the ascent and they get their legs cut off and then they don't get over and you've got to put these guys over, even if they don't get over instantly, because some people don't get over instantly, but they get over. And if you give up on him 3 weeks in, very few are going to get over in 3 weeks. I mean, even someone who's super charismatic will probably have a hard time getting over in 3 weeks now, just because.
But if you're not getting it over in 3 weeks and they keep trying, maybe you will get over. But if they give up on you in 3 weeks, you're definitely not going to get over.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I mean, and you never know. Some people won't get over. But I think that's the problem. You know what's funny is Minoru Suzuki actually had it was a funny thing because he actually said this about Moxley, and what they do in WWE, it's that reverse attitude. It's like the attitude is always like, okay, what's the guy do good? What's the guy do bad? Let's emphasize what he does good and let's hide what he does bad, right? I mean, Heyman was famous for that, but he absolutely did not make that up. I mean, Watts would say the same thing, and everyone would.
Well, it's common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense. There's no perfect wrestler. Every wrestler has a fault. That's why, like, when people will go like, oh, this guy does this and this, he can't get over. And it's like, no, he can't get over if he doesn't get over. If he does get over and you point to the fault, it's like, well, it didn't matter. I mean, look, Hulk Hogan was one of the biggest draws in the history of the business. And, it was like, how can he main event? He can't go 20 minutes. He's not versatile enough. He's too big to be a baby face. He's got to be a heel, all this shit. And it was shit, okay? Because what did history prove? That he could get over. And all those things that I just said, it's like, yeah, he was limited. He can only do one match. He didn't go 20 minutes very often. Most of the time he went under, 10 or less. So what? It drew. Case closed, It's like, I'm not saying he was the greatest worker of all time, but it didn't matter. Hulk Hogan was an incredible drawing card. And it's like that with, it's like if somebody, whoever it is, Dusty Rhodes is too fat. It's like, well, but he drew. So who cares? But I mean, with WWE, it's always like he can't get over because of too small, not charismatic, doesn't do a good enough promo, this reason, that reason, too much flippy stuff. This is why he can't get over. But if you give him wins, maybe he will. So the Moxley thing was Suzuki goes, the reason that Moxley gets over is because people know his weaknesses, but it doesn't matter type of a thing. It's like his weaknesses are his strengths. Like Rey Mysterio, his weakness is his size. That's actually his strength. Moxley, not wrestling technically and just brawling all over the place. So it's like his there's this weakness, but it's actually his strength because it resonates, because it's different from everybody else in New Japan. And that's why Moxley and Suzuki, if you remember, Moxley and Suzuki, honest to God, that's probably the best feud of the year. As far as if you remember back, all those tag matches they did and then the singles match they did, unfortunately it was only one and done, and then we had the pandemic. But that was unbelievably great stuff. But it was, it was not your typical New Japan match. It was completely untypical, but it was super exciting because of what it was. So anyway, yeah, what are you going to say? But yeah, I mean, let me just get to my, notes on the show, on the Smackdown show, what was the deal? Yeah, I mean, I don't know about Riddle and Corbin. I just don't know. Nikki Cross.
Riddle's got to go through a bunch of guys to get to King Corbin. I guess there's a bounty on him.
Yeah, he did put a bounty up. Yeah.
Hey, at least we'll get a bunch of matches before we have to watch the Corbin match. That's a positive.
Yeah. So, Nikki Cross is getting another title shot. So does she win it finally?
Well, I mean, she got to win this week, so I figure that she doesn't win it. Oh. I mean, you could, but
loss?
like Bayley and Sasha are such a great act. Like, whose idea is it to take the title off Bayley now?
Yeah, I don't think the timing's right for that at all, to take the title off of her. But isn't there somebody else they can put in there besides Nikki Cross? I mean, if she's been beat over and over and over again, they've got all these women on the roster. But I guess Naomi and Lacey Evans are doing a program. That Miz and Morrison thing with Naomi freaking sucked. Yeah. And then what else? The match with Metalik. Those guys were all good in that match, I will say. Drew Gulak and Metalik and Lindsay Dorado and Gable. They were all. I mean, I don't know that it.
Dude, Shorty G was the best guy in that match by far. And what was funny was the story of the match was that he was the best guy in the match. AJ's on commentary talking about how he's the best guy in the match and he's going to win. And then he didn't. So it made me think that maybe they're actually going to do something with Shorty G. Like maybe do a short program on TV with AJ or something like that. I don't know. They sure pushed him strong.
Yeah, but they beat him down for so long.
They've beaten everybody down.
And he's got such a terrible, that name is terrible. The gimmick is terrible. He's a great wrestler, though. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he should be at least given a chance. I don't know where he should actually be, but he should at least be given a chance to do something. Cesaro, too. Cesaro was really, so Big E it looks like Big E's going to get a singles push.
Kofi's out 6 weeks with an undisclosed injury, something rib-related.
Is that from the table spot, or is that something legit?
I don't know. He was holding his ribs. He said the doctor said he would be out 6 weeks, which is weird because
holding his ribs though is from the table is the work thing from the tables match though. It's not like, so I don't know. It could be a cover.
Well, the storyline is fake. So, like, if he went in holding his ribs and he came out holding his ribs and he said he was going to be out 6 weeks, I would presume the story is it's his ribs, which is weird.
Storyline-wise, of course,
because Nikki Cross cracked her ribs, they said, and she wrestled on this show.
Right. Yeah. So Big E's going to get a singles run. So that's cool. I mean, we'll see how that goes.
That's been overdue for like 3 years now.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's overdue for half that roster. I mean, that's that the roster's filled with talent. I mean, you can't deny that. It's most of the guys on the show there's a few exceptions, but most of the guys on the show when it comes to actually wrestling are very good. When it comes to promos, it's hit and miss, and a lot of that's like with the Miz, obviously like Miz and Morrison are great promos, but my God, they were terrible on that show because, it was who can be good with that material?
Most underrated should be the entire WWE roster. Maybe you can rename that category.
Underpushed. I wouldn't necessarily say underrated. WWE, a lot of people are more overrated than under, but underutilized I think is better in the sense of because they, again, they look at the weaknesses and they come to the conclusion due to these weaknesses that you can't be a main eventer. It's like that whole thing of like, we're trying to sign guys, who can main event WrestleMania. It's like, well, how do you decide? I mean, like, the only way you decide is who gets over, and you don't know. None of us know who's going to get over unless we give them a chance. I know if you don't give them a chance, they won't get over unless it's some weird fluke Daniel Bryan thing that, happens very rarely. But most of the time it doesn't happen. Most of the time, if you're going to get over, you need to be helped to get over. You need to be positioned to get over. And if you go in there with this mentality that unless you are, a certain way, unless, you can't get over, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and a very destructive one.
I'd like to note, by the way, that as I look back at this four-way, Shorty G is the same size as everybody in that match.
Well, I always love when Kayla Braxton's out there interviewing Shorty G, and she's like 4'10", and he towers over her.
Well, she is, but I'm talking about the other wrestlers on the show. He ain't that short. He's same size as half of them.
Well, I remember when they would do the thing and making fun of his height when he was teaming with Mustafa Ali, and they were the exact same height. You know, one guy you make fun of his height, and the other guy's the same height. So yeah, it's whatever. I mean, it was Vince's idea months ago. He thought it was going to get over, and and then
he couldn't really have thought it was going to get over, right? I mean, come on.
I have no idea what Vince is thinking anymore. It's a different Vince than before. I mean, it's like everything that the 80s Vince was, this Vince isn't. That's just the reality of it. He's the problem. I hate to say it, but I mean, everyone knows it, but it's like, it's not like it's a secret, but it's impossible, and it's again, I mean, the thing is like, people will blame, it still astounds me. It still astounds me that anyone will go in there and make excuses, or when there's a Vince decision, they'll somehow try to blame somebody else for the decision. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, I guess people are afraid to say, people in the company are afraid to say Vince, and I can see why, but.
Well, on the subject of show quality, the Smackdown show sucked. I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but we had a 2-hour show with 5 matches. 4 matches ended in a disqualification. We had one clean finish on the show, which was the Cesaro-Lince Dorado match, which, of course, that one was going to have a clean finish.
Almost a squash anyway.
Yes, but bad finish after bad finish after bad finish. And then the embarrassing angle in the main event with this new group, Retribution or whatever they're being called.
That was very bad. Yeah.
It's so bad.
It looked like grade school kids like doing fake wrestling or a fake wrestling angle. But the thing is, and the other thing, like when I'm watching the show, it's like, here's another thing. Right? It's like, I feel like I'm like always ripping WWE and for good reason. Cause look, you know what? I got to say this too, for everyone who thinks that like we rip WWE, these numbers have dropped way more than I thought because, every week when I do it, I'm just thinking, well, it's a little down from last week. It's a little down from last week. But when you look at 5 months, it ain't a little down. It's a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe how much they're actually down. Now, saying that, one of the things, so they're doing something very, very wrong. Probably more wrong than we even bring up. Now, the reality is. But one of the things where I'm watching this show, I can start on Chad Gable, right? Oh, my God. He turns heel. And what do? He gets beat up. I mean, I thought, okay, they probably won't push him. And he's still Shorty G, which is, like, completely ridiculous. Okay. So he turns heel on Matt Riddle. So I'm figuring, okay, he's going to lose to Matt Riddle. It's, because they don't have any faith in him, and they're not going to push him. But he's a really good worker, and at least we're going to get this like really good match with Matt Riddle, and he is going heel, so they'll probably give him like his 3 weeks before they dump him like they always do, right? They didn't even give him that. This is the first week after the turn. He attacks Matt Riddle. He gets beat up. Then he gets bro kicked by Sheamus not once but twice in Sheamus's babyface turn, which everybody's been waiting for. So it's like, what a great debut as a heel. I mean, I'm watching that going like, I mean, my initial reaction watching that, as soon as I watched that was like, this guy, I mean, I've always said he needs to leave, but it's like, dude, you got to leave. You know what I mean? You've just got to get out of there. This is just ridiculous. They're wasting your career. I mean, granted, he is making a good living, but if your goal is to make a really big living in this business, sometimes you got to go and prove yourself and up your value, because all they're doing is, ruining your value.
Well, you say that, Dave, but you're saying that on a show where John Morrison did leave and he did up his value and he became better in every conceivable way, and he came back and they treat this guy like shit. Chad Gable could go and win the IWGP title, and he'd come back and he'd be Shorty G. Maybe Morrison's
the proof that you don't come back. Well, is that the end of the
there
world?
you go.
I mean,
no, it's not the end of the world. I'm just saying that, like, leaving to up his value. I mean, as we have seen historically, leaving to up your value means jack shit when you come back.
Okay, but Morrison is making a lot more money than he made the first time he was there. A lot more. So, I mean, he did up his value. They're not booking him any better because they didn't see it, but what you expect them to see because this guy did something in Lucha Underground that it's going to lead to them upping their value. None of those people even know what Lucha Underground is. So no, but if it's an AEW, if a guy goes to AEW, they're going to want to spend a lot of money on him just to get him from AEW because that's the way they think. So if you're John Morrison and you went to AEW, you'd be able to get way more than you're getting now because they're going to want you that much more. And perhaps, when they bring you in, will they still fuck you up? Yeah, well, look, they're fucking up 80% of their roster. So yeah, probably. Well, anyway, so the one thing with all those DQs, when I'm watching this thing and it's like, it's people who aren't paying attention. It's like I've told the story a million times with UWF in Japan. In like 88, 89, they did all clean finishes. And by 1990, both All Japan and New Japan, and again, UWF was not on television, and UWF was not like, but UWF was really hot and selling a lot of tickets because everyone knew you were going to get clean finishes in every match. You're going to get a winner, and you're going to lose her, and you're going to get a knockout, and you're going to get a submission, or you're going to get, but you're getting a win every time. It may be 5 knockdowns. They do the finish, but that's fine too. That's the rules. That's technical knockout, I guess. So the whole thing is that they were giving you finishes, and All Japan and New Japan always did the double count outs to protect everyone. That was just their mentality for years and years and years. And they realized that they couldn't do it anymore because the fans told them. And it took 1 year. Okay. When was the first year when people would see these finishes, these DQ finishes, and start booing instead of getting more excited by the run-in? Because there was a period where people would get all jazzed for the run-in. But then it changed to where people did not cheer for the run-in. They booed because it was a fucked finish. I don't know when this was, but it's so many years ago. In like 6 months to a year, you should figure it out and adapt. Okay, that sort of took All Japan and New Japan, a year, a year or so to figure it out, to listen to the fans. These guys, it's got to have been 10, 12 years, right? When do people always start booing these terrible finishes? They can get away with it now because it's a fake audience, but the people at home are still the people at home, and they're still going when they see this run. It's like, boo, this sucks.
Well, I can tell you that I have been watching the Raw shows from 2001. This was before the invasion started, but after that WrestleMania. And they are getting the fans booing when there are these shitty finishes and run-ins. So, I mean, it probably got worse after that, but I mean, I think you can look back to 2001.
They haven't figured out in 19 years. Does that tell you anything? 19 years. It took fucking Baba a year to go against his entire business philosophy of decades, and Ricky Dozance before that. It took him 1 year to figure out the business has changed and we can't do what we used to do. We're at 19 years and they haven't figured it out. I mean, I've said it before, but it really hit me, tonight, or today watching those shows because it was one after another, and it's like, whoa, and again,
it's one thing, like you can hate DQs all you want, but when you've got a show with 5 matches and you have 4 DQs in 5 matches, I mean, when I saw that the second hour did better than the first, I'm like, who are these people? There were 4 DQs in 5 matches on this show. This is appalling.
So look again. Okay, with over 50s, it doesn't matter. And over 50s grew up with this. This is their wrestling. But the point is that the younger people are seeing other wrestling. Younger people may know about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they may know about these other companies in AEW. And that's the group they're losing with. And like the whole thing of like, oh, it's just the hardcores. Fuck, you're out of touch when you're dropping. Like I said, when you're on SmackDown and you're on Friday night in a time frame when, guess what? People don't go out on Friday night to get drunk in a lot of the country because the bars are closed. There are more people home on Friday nights than at any time in our lifetimes, and you are down 37.3% in 18 to 49s from February. Okay, I mean not from 3 years ago. You know, they're down a lot more from that point, but not so much because they moved from USA to Fox, which is a big upgrade. But this is comparing Fox to Fox. That's not the hardcores or whatever. That's not internet people complaining. You know, it's like if internet people are complaining and I'm looking at the numbers and the numbers are good, it's like, oh, that's exactly right. I wouldn't listen to them for a second. But if they're complaining and I'm looking at these numbers and these numbers are going down like this, it's like, I better listen. You know, I better figure this out because they're not complaining. They're indicative of the big picture. They're the big picture. They're not the small picture. I know what everyone in WWE is trying to say. Whatever. You guys are complaining. It's like, if we're complaining and these numbers are going up, then don't listen to us because we're out of touch. But if we're complaining and these numbers are dropping worse than our complaints, then we're not going far enough with our complaints. That's the reality.
Any other thoughts on this show?
Let me see. I didn't like any of the Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt stuff at all. I thought that the whole kidnapping of Alexa Bliss was supposed to get to Braun Strowman, and then he blew it off. So it's kind of like, okay, why'd we do it other than, I guess it's like character development for Alexa Bliss? When I guess we can wait and see how that works.
This is character development. She sat there and had to just look pretty. Like, she said nothing. I mean, I was like, is she kidnapped and nobody cares? Are they working together? What's going on here? And then Braun Strowman cuts a promo and just says, I don't care at all about Alexa.
Yeah, he just blew it off, which it's like, if you're going to do it, the least you could do is sell it. Why do it? Why do it? I mean, it's like you have something that somebody can, it might still be stupid. It probably still is, but it's at least something. And they blew off that too. So when that was over, it was like, wow. It's like you're not even taking advantage of that. Now, the Mandy Rose Sonya Deville stuff, I think, is pretty good. I like that. And there's not much else. I mean, the matches where Sheamus is going babyface to feud with Baron Corbin. Jeff Hardy's feuding with Baron Corbin. Matt Riddle's feuding with Baron Corbin. It's like, geez, they got, you know what I mean? It's like they're building this whole thing around Baron Corbin. And do you think any of these guys are going to get, I mean, I guess Jeff Hardy's going to move to somewhere else, but I don't know who. Always moving from.
Remember last summer when they did that storyline where Baron Corbin was responsible for the numbers being down in the summer, and they did that big storyline about it, and blah blah blah. And now here we are, numbers are like as low as you can get, and he's feuding with 3 different people on this show.
Well, I guess they trust him. I'm not feeling the Riddle stuff. I think that I don't know that Baron Corbin's the guy. I guess in their mind maybe he is because he's the guy that they feel everybody doesn't like. So, but we got 3 guys. What does Sheamus need to feud with Baron? I guess we'll wait and see. You got to give him the benefit of the doubt on something new. But it's like Sheamus does all that stuff and then he turns with Jeff Hardy and then he turns babyface. I think. Well, he was definitely the babyface on the show. Maybe they'll forget and he'll be healed next week. I don't know. But, as far as so building SummerSlam, obviously the Fiend and Braun Strowman, which we always knew they were going in that direction. And Big E, nothing. I mean, he's, did a promo, but no direct feud. Tag champs have no direct feud. Riddle and Hardy and Sheamus all do have a direct feud with the same guy. So that's what's going on. But yeah, the big thing was the angle at the end with, all these guys running in. It was very poorly done. Looked really Mickey Mouse, but it's something. Maybe it'll draw some interest. Maybe numbers will go up a little bit. But in the long run, I mean, they haven't, long run's been telling the story, and I think a bad thing can absolutely lead to a few weeks of curiosity ratings. The same with, the Shane McMahon thing with the, Raw Underground. But if it continues to be bad, it will probably end up being worse than before you started. They may be misleading, this stuff, because eventually stuff has to be good. That's what will turn this around is, creation of stars and stuff being good.
Yeah, Friday SmackDown was the highest since June. I think it's two things. I thought the SmackDown show was generally good. I mean, last week's show was freaking atrocious. But the redemption storyline, it's goofy and everything, but it's obviously, ever since they started it, numbers have gone up. And then, this one was still up. It wasn't, I figured it'd be up for a couple shows, and then who knows, because really the angle's been pretty stupid. But it was still up.
It was so stupid on this show.
Yeah.
Like, literally, the show opens with him saying, well, we've added a bunch of security here after what happened last week to make sure that nothing happens here on this show. And it is not 5 minutes before Redemption is in the building.
Yep.
I was like, 5 minutes, all that added security. And the lights just went out, and they're in the ring.
Yeah, attacking Big E and Morrison. And then they came back out a second time, destroying everyone in the dressing room. This was when all the wrestlers had come out to make sure that they didn't get to the ring during.
They're killing people in this dressing room, and meanwhile, the wrestlers are just having this match. And Michael Cole's screaming, someone's got to go back and tell these wrestlers that the Redemption's in the locker room. I'm like, you're right there. Just go tell them. Nope. Yeah. Wrestlers just stood around looking stupid. The Redemption storyline is awful. The show as a whole was way better than last week. But the Redemption stuff is irredeemable.
But I believe that's the key thing. The other key thing is probably the Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman thing. I think that was kind of clicking. It's stupid, too.
It's also nonsensical.
Yeah, I guess the idea is that they've switched personalities, and now Braun Strowman is actually Bray Wyatt, and Bray Wyatt's now Braun Strowman. Or maybe it's just The Fiend. I don't know. It's hard to figure out exactly. But this Braun Strowman has no compassion whatsoever for Alexa Bliss, and she can't understand it. And she doesn't believe it, but it's there.
Dude, I couldn't believe that after 2.5 years, they finally showed a bunch of stuff with Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. This is the first time in 2.5 years on national television that they've ever told us anything about these two. They just presumed everybody watched Mixed Match Challenge, which, if you recall, nobody was watching Mixed Match Challenge.
No, but they did commercials during SmackDown for Mixed Match Challenge, and those two were always in the commercials together. There was always that thing where you sort of would have known, but it was never. No, you're right.
Sort of knew.
Yeah, it was sort of there that there was a connection, Team Little Big, and she was kind of bossing him around, and he had a crush on her. That was all there. But you're right, it was years ago. It hasn't been touched in years. Now they're bringing it back. But look, they got to find something, and at least they found something that's working. I mean, before they were trying a million different things and nothing was working. Next week, they are going to be they're going to be in the Amway Center constantly with the same kind of fans, fans on the screen like an NBA game or a baseball game, and a bunch of other things that they're looking at doing, maybe like crowd noise through Zoom or something.
There seemed to be a lot of crowd swinging on Friday's show, which I have no problem with because I thought it made for a better show. This was like the liveliest crowd they had on SmackDown in months.
Yeah, well, you know what? Well, the thing is, but they tell them, okay? And here's the thing.
But it was more than just the crowd. It was like there was extra added crowd on top of the crowd.
They always do. They've been doing that constantly. Now, they won't be able to do it starting next week because they're starting Friday. Monday's show was already taped. But starting Friday, every show's live, so we're not going to have that crowd sweetening. But what they've done, and I bet you they keep this, is those boards, those plexiglass. So you got the fans just pound, or the wrestlers pounding on that glass like it's, it's essentially the PWG gimmick where all the fans would pound on the mat. Well, they will never let anyone close enough to pound on the mat. But the sound of pounding on the glass is the same thing. And when that pounding
They're
sound,
performance center students. I'm pretty sure they could get people pounding on the mat.
they didn't let them. They don't even let them near the place. They don't even let them near the mat. That's why they got the boards, the barricades. Because what do you need barricades when you know that the reason you have barricades is because you're afraid of a nutty fan hopping, and getting to the ring.
Well, the Boogs is out there.
Yeah. But, I mean, literally, there's no need for barricades other than they're just part of the look of the show at this point. I mean, there's no need for barricades in AEW either. It's just barricades are there so you whip somebody in the barricades. They're not even there to actually be barricades because, none of these guys are hitting the ring for real. There's nothing to worry about. So it's whatever. But, I think that was like the key. They were the second hour topped 2 million viewers.
I think it's because Joe Park came back.
That's not why. I mean, Joe Park was back with AJ Styles. He did some stuff. He was, that was nice nostalgia and everything like that. And he did have great facial expressions. And they did call him Joseph Park. So he was there when AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy started their program, which was supposed to be a couple of weeks ago. They were supposed to do that. And then that was one of the things Vince erased from the show. So he's a little bit late on starting this thing. But that match is actually not on SummerSlam right now. It's on television.
Yeah, it's Smackdown.
For next Friday. So, and then they did the Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville hair matches on. And then the Battle Royal, Asuka won. I was so pissed. I have to say this. This is like the perfect opportunity to give somebody an opportunity. There's only...
Oh, like Rhea Ripley?
Rhea Ripley or Bianca Belair, someone.
I'm waiting for Hunter to pay this off for me. He promised this months ago.
Yeah. But I mean, anyone, you could make someone and get them in a championship match on a pay-per-view. Right now, all you needed, they had nobody. And then it's like, this is like the whole WWE mentality that's like, so it's like they go to Asuka, who already has a match. Instead of like giving somebody else a spotlight, you have Asuka do 2 matches on the same night. And I know that there's going to be some storyline based on that and all that, but you just need to have 2 matches on the same night, and it's redundant.
Hey, at least we're going to have 2 good matches.
Yeah, but you could have 2 good matches either way. Asuka and Sasha Banks would be a good match. There are plenty of women who could have a good match with Bayley. Maybe not as good as Asuka. I mean, realistically, maybe Io Shirai is the only one who could have a match quite at that level. But there's a whole roster of people you could put in there that, they could use that spotlight. They could, and to go with Asuka for both, I just, I don't know. I was just so negative on. It's like, come on, like, can't you at least give somebody a chance from again, like Belair, who is, obviously got something, and she should be able to have a good match with Bayley. It wouldn't be as good as an Asuka match, but, Asuka working twice, knowing the way they think, they might, one of those matches might end up being short and not so good anyway. And then, again, Rhea Ripley, obviously. That would have been my pick, was Rhea Ripley. And at least it would have, made her, given her that star thing that they took away from her and that they've never given her since. So, other than that she works in that tag team feud with Mercedes Martinez and Aaliyah. So, yep, that's what they did there. Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville hair match. So a lot of women's matches on the show. And then they also announced that Bayley and Sasha Banks will be defending the tag team titles. I don't know against who. On the pay-per-view on the 30th that I'd almost forgotten that there's another pay-per-view 2 straight weeks. But
that's right, Payback.
Yep, Payback. So
which we still don't know why there is a pay-per-view the week after.
Well, I think that we're going to find out. I think that the key will be, an angle at SummerSlam is going to lead to need of an immediate rematch. So it'll be whatever that angle is, whether it's Drew and Randy Orton. It's going to be like it's going to be in either the the one of the 2 major championship matches is going to have an angle to build for an immediate return. I don't know which one it's going to be.
And I guess we need to start at the beginning, Dave, and that is the discussion of WWE's new Thunderdome that debuted on Smackdown. What did you think?
Oh, when it first started, at the opening of the show, I thought it was just tremendous. Now it's going to be very interesting because the look is really, I like the look. I like the lasers and all that stuff. The fans on the wall, actually, I don't like. I just think it looks really cheesy and didn't add anything to it. But I like the special effects. I didn't see any like flying drones and a lot of the stuff that was promised, but it's not like I care. But special effects are cool. Now, as the show went on, the fact that the people in the so-called audience really don't make any noise, and it's all the fake noise and it has nothing to do with the match, really was a negative to me, because it was like when Jeff Hardy beat AJ Styles and you don't hear a crowd pop, and then Jeff's doing his interview and he's pausing for the crowd pop that's not there. I mean, it was back to the early days of the thing. The rating was really strong, so it may be that, I guess what we're going to know if the ratings comes back, because the booking certainly isn't any better. Although I guess there's like the Bray Wyatt thing has a little bit of intrigue, and the Retribution thing has a little bit of intrigue, even though it freaking sucks, but it does have intrigue. That if the rating comes back, it says that it really was just the pandemic and the location. If it doesn't come back, then it's like it's the booking, because I didn't see any improvement in the booking at all.
Well, I mean, if you look at the rating, I mean, the last couple of weeks, the second hour did better than the first hour, and this week we had a strong first hour, and every single half hour, the show fell, which tells me that a lot of people tune in to see the Thunderdome. They saw it, and they didn't stick around until the end.
Well, I would have expected that. I would have expected curiosity over the Thunderdome, and but still, even in the fourth hour, it was way ahead of. It was, you're still way ahead of, or the fourth half hour, you're still way ahead of what you were doing for months. So it's, again, first week is always going to have curiosity. I figured that there would be people tuning in, and some of them wouldn't stick around for the end, probably a lot. And the first week doesn't mean anything. And even Raw, the Raw rating on Monday really doesn't mean anything either, because it's going to be up. I mean, even with the convention, I think it'll be up because of SummerSlam more than anything else. But if it's, and the curiosity over the Thunderdome. But, the Thunderdome thing, again, in 3 weeks, I guess, we'll see if the rating stays at this level or grows, then it tells me that it's the look of the show, and it's like it looks better, but it doesn't feel better.
Well, I will say that from watching it, you didn't like the fans. I didn't mind the fans at all. I mean, I was watching the matches, and it wasn't like it hurt, but it just felt like it was. Well, here's the thing. So I felt visually, to see all those faces out there throughout the show, it made the show feel more alive to me. Now, the problem with the fans is, and I could be wrong about this, but this is a live television show. I presume there's a 7-second delay. There's a delay up and down a satellite. These are fans watching the show on their television. This is not instantaneous like fans in the building. So even if you got their audio of them yelling and cheering and everything, like, there's going to be a weird delay.
We didn't even have that, though.
Yeah, so I don't even know. My point is, I don't even know it would be possible to have their audio there, because the pop would be late, the cheers would be late, everything would be delayed. I mean, it may just be that they want faces on screen that are alive, and we're always going to get the piped in noise.
I think that from a standpoint of the matches, it was really hard to watch the matches because it was back to that empty arena feel. Especially when, fake crowd noise on a taped show is one thing, because you know what you're doing. When you're doing fake crowd noise on a live show, it's screwed, because you're just putting a whir in that doesn't, like when the show's taped, you can, figure out where you want to sweeten it and what kind of reactions at the right time. That's something that somebody who's good technically can pull off. But when it's live, you don't have that. and they're just throwing in fake crowd noise that doesn't have to do with the match, and I feel like when, especially with any style of wrestling, but WWE style the most, because WWE style is so much dependent on a certain type of crowd and a certain type of crowd psychology, and when you don't have that, it just looks ridiculous. It looks like, why are you doing it? Like a style that looks more realistic, you can have no crowd noise, but the match itself looks more realistic. It's like, who was it? Somebody was telling me, I'm trying to remember who it was in the last couple days. You know who it was? It wasn't telling me. It was Paul Levesque, and he was talking on the conference call the other day, and he talked, and it was so funny because he said, like, I used to watch wrestling, and I would turn the sound off and watch it and then turn the sound on and try to, like, learn from that. And it's like, I used to do that, not so much, but I used to do that too, because what I found when I used to turn the sound off, is that guys who are really shitty workers were like really shitty with no sound. Whereas with sound, because most of your really shitty workers, because they got away with being really shitty, had a lot of charisma, so the crowd would kind of make up for the fact that, like, their stuff looked really bad. When I say shitty, I mean, like, your punches look missed by a mile, your kicks look missed by a mile, that type of shitty work, where it just, everything, the moves miss. But if you have super charisma, the people react like they hit, and it kind of, whatever, it does that. And guys who were like really good workers in the sense that their punches look like they land, their kicks look like they land, their wrestling looks like actual wrestling. When you turn the sound off with those people, their matches hold up so much better, logically, of course. But here you're doing, I'm not saying that they're shitty, but you're doing an unrealistic style. And when you do an unrealistic style and you don't have a crowd, or the crowd isn't reacting the way that style would lead the crowd to react, it makes it very, very tough. But even like AJ and Jeff Hardy, who had a really good match, I liked the match, but I couldn't get into the match because every time, like, Jeff Hardy did something, started his comeback, and it's like, okay, the crowd's going to get with it. And then they don't. It's almost like, well, it's not working, except I know it's not your fault and all that. But it's like the first thing, I mean, like when I watch a match, I'm always watching for ebbs and flows of the crowd, and, if they are into the stuff they're supposed to be into. And when you have a match where there is no crowd, and it's all geared, and they're working in a way geared towards a crowd that's not there, it's kind of weird.
Well, what I can tell you is this, because I watched 3 shows all today. I watched Smackdown first, and then I watched the AEW TV show, and then I watched TakeOver. And I could tell you that after watching Smackdown with all of the live faces, even if it was fake crowd noise, and then watching AEW, which actually had the best atmosphere of any show because they had live fans and they piped in some noise because it was a taped show. This TakeOver show, and there was some stuff I really, really liked on this TakeOver show, but my God, that dark building with some of the fans at Full Sail, the wrestlers pretending to be fans, like, I was begging for the Thunderdome to be back. I was begging for it. Like, they're doing this ladder match, and these dudes are out there killing themselves, and the crowd is quiet enough that you can hear the announcers' voices echoing in the building. Like, that's how quiet this crowd was for this ladder match. And I preferred the AEW the most, the way they did it. I mean, have a live crowd and pipe in some sound to make it even more lively. And the Thunderdome I preferred second because at least it felt like it was an alive show. I mean, I wasn't hearing those fans, but the fans were alive watching it. And that NXT was so dark and so quiet for 3 hours.
I didn't watch NXT, so I can't really compare. I'm not watching it. I'll watch it in the morning, but yeah, I just felt watching SmackDown that I mean, like the stuff and everything like that was basically fine, and there were some good interviews, and some of the backstage stuff was good, and the hocus pocus stuff at the end was predictable. If you like that in your wrestling, it was great, and if you don't like it in that wrestling, it was terrible. You like that in your wrestling, it was terrible. But that's that's going to be like that with or without fans. That's just what you want out of wrestling. You want you want hocus pocus, and a lot of people do. And in a Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman, that's the direction they're going to go. So it was predictable. I mean, it was just, I didn't bother me. I didn't love it either. I thought that it was, I thought it was something that's probably going to be effective. But time will tell on that. And I mean, I haven't really liked any of the Bray Wyatt, Braun Strowman stuff at all. None of the matches. None of the promos, but I know there's intrigue to it with Alexa Bliss, and it's probably going to get over. But yeah,
what did you think of the Smackdown show?
I liked it. I thought that the
you liked it.
Oh yeah. I thought the atmosphere was good. There were I think there were less problems. I mean, you still don't get the crowd sinking with the match. I mean, that's definitely the weak point of this Thunderdome, but it looks good. The guys look like stars with the entrances. So that's good. Obviously the show long thing with Roman Reigns, I thought was a good hook. Especially with the turn at the end. I think there's a little bit of intrigue with Alexa Bliss. Everyone knows she's kind of going with Bray Wyatt and all that, and her kind of turning on Nikki Cross. So, that stuff was good. Some of the promo stuff, not so good. Kind of sad that the Matt Riddle Gable thing was, what was it, like 90 seconds? It's a great
90-second match.
It's a great 90 seconds, but my God, that was such a great 90 seconds to, which just kind of told you, like, what the hell? I mean, Gable just needs to get frickin' out of there. I mean, it's ridiculous. I like the thing with Vince and Adam Pearce and everything. That was pretty cool. Cesaro and, now one thing is it's too many breakups all at the same time. I mean, because it's like Sheamus walked out on Miz and Morrison. The Lucha House Party's all mad at each other. Bailey and Banks are getting set to break with each other. Who else? Is there anybody else? I mean, it just felt like everybody. I felt like every 5 minutes somebody was. Oh, Nakamura and Cesaro. So where Cesaro got mad that Nakamura took the match with Jeff Hardy. It was like I'm watching the show going like. Every 5 minutes, these tag team partners are about to break up in every freaking segment. It's like, come on. But I felt that, so that I thought was weak because it just waters everything down when everyone's doing it at once. And Bailey and Sasha, was very clear, that they're going stronger and stronger with it. And Baszler and Nia, you still got partners that don't like each other on the other side.
Every single one of these teams is breaking up.
Yep, too much. Way too much. Too bad AJ doesn't have a partner. He could break up with him, too.
Maybe they'll give him a partner to break up with.
Yeah.
Anything else? You clearly liked the show way more than I did.
Oh, I thought that it was paced well. I liked the show.
Wow, all right.
Yeah, I mean, no great matches. Cesaro and Kalisto was fun for what it was. The Heavy Machinery, Big E, Sheamus, Miz, and Morrison was kind of there. I mean, it was okay.
That was the main event. It was advantage baby faces. What are the heels left? And it was 3-on-2 advantage baby faces.
Yeah. I don't know why Sheamus walked out. I guess just because they didn't have.
They had to have an excuse to go to commercial.
That's a terrible reason to do an angle.
Actually, no, that wasn't. I'm sorry. The excuse to go to commercial is they started wrestling, and then Sheamus went out and rang the ring bell.
That's when
they said, "Oh, the match is not over yet."
Yeah,
and they went to. And that was their excuse to go to commercial. And they came back and they were just wrestling.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I don't know that you need an excuse to do a commercial because they do commercials during every match that goes more than 5 minutes. But as far as the Sheamus turn after all this other stuff was, kind of kind of overdoing it. Yeah, I remember, but I was already done with all these things when freaking Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss were breaking up.
There was no way that was a Sheamus babyface turn.
No, at all. No, he just walked out because they had nobody. They had no teams break up in the last 5 minutes, so they needed another one. I think that's like the deal now is like, when they get to some idea, they just go with it. And I guess the idea is that every 5 minutes we got to break up a team. We got to tease a breakup of a team. That way we'll get people watching because we slowly do it. And there's stuff happening or whatever the rationale is. But it's totally overdone. That was the whole theme of the show. It's like by the end, it's like when you don't even remember them, like Alexa and Nikki Cross, because there's so many of them. It's kind of like when you don't, when you can't remember the angle at the end because there's so many angles. Inherently, that means the angle didn't get over, and that's the problem with doing too many angles on a show. When the show's over, you should clearly remember the angles, and when you do, that means that you remember them and they resonated. When you don't remember them, they did not resonate. Therefore, if you cannot remember every single angle on the show, whatever angle you do not remember did not work. And most people are not going to remember 10 angles. They might remember, if you do 2 good angles, they'll remember both of them. You do 10, maybe they'll remember 2, and then the other ones were just a waste of time.
All right, before we go, thoughts on the Smackdown show this week, which I thought was a huge improvement.
I liked the show.
This was like the best Smackdown I've seen in months.
Yeah, I thought that the Bayley-Sasha Banks angle was great.
Between the Bayley-Sasha angle and Roman and Paul Heyman together on the show,
Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman were real good.
They elevated the show greatly.
The Paul Heyman interview at the beginning of the show was really good. I thought that the Bayley and Sasha Banks, Shayna Baszler, Nia Jax match came off well again. The 4-way at the end, I liked the AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Sami Zayn. So it looks like AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, and Sami Zayn in a 3-way on the pay-per-view. It looks like I got the impression it's going to be Nakamura and Cesaro against Heavy Machinery, but they have not gone in that direction yet. But they sort of hinted when Heavy Machinery beat Miz and Morrison that, maybe Heavy Machinery would get in a title shot. I thought it was real cute when John Morrison steals the briefcase, and the briefcase is actually everything that Otis would have in his lunchbox, and his lunchbox actually contains the contract. I thought it was just kind of cute and funny. The 4-way, with it was every WWE 4-way. It was fine. It ends with Jey Uso pinning Matt Riddle with a splash off the top. So Jey Uso's going against Roman Reigns. Dude,
you know what I didn't like about that? If he's going to challenge Roman Reigns, why did they give him the least of anybody in that match? He got like 5 super kicks. They laid him out for most of the match. He disappeared for the majority of it. And then suddenly he flies in with a big splash. And like he's facing Roman Reigns for the championship it's not even a TV match. This is at the upcoming pay-per-view. Like, if you're gonna give a guy a title match, especially Jey Uso, who's never got a world title match in his life, you gotta showcase this guy.
I would agree.
And they didn't at all.
They didn't showcase anyone. I don't know. They took out Big E. He was advertised for the match. They took him out in an angle with Sheamus. So Big E and Sheamus are still going to be going at it after this pay-per-view. It's just to keep Big E busy with something else. He had a birthday cake for Xavier Woods, who in fact it was Xavier Woods' birthday, but we never did see Xavier Woods. And when he walks out the door, he was set up and Sheamus bro kicked him and the cake went flying and all that. So I think that their mentality is the novelty of Roman Reigns wrestling his cousin, and the family thing kind of makes up for that. But yes, Jey Uso probably should have looked more like a star in that match rather than just kind of won at the end while not looking like a star. But it's not like Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton is like on this pay-per-view.
You know what's funny, by the way, before you get to that? It's like they wanted to downplay him so that you would be surprised when he won.
Yes, but that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, but Dave, it's Jey Uso. you're going to be surprised that he won no matter what. He could have run wild for 99% of the match. You still would be surprised that Jey Uso won. So they didn't need to downplay him to surprise you.
Agreed. I think their mentality is just that, look, this is just a guy to feed to Roman. It's not a serious contender.
I know. We know that. So, try to convince us otherwise.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think that their mentality is that Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton is the world title match. That's the main event on the pay-per-view. And Roman Reigns and Jey Uso is a way for Roman Reigns to turn heel on his cousin. It's not about selling the match. It's about, that asshole Roman Reigns is going to turn on his own freaking cousin, who he's still, even though he's turned, they were still like best friends backstage and everything like that. And they're brothers and they grew up together and blah, blah, blah. And they're still, it isn't like he turned on him, but now he's going to turn on him later. So it's just a way to, it's all about, elevating Roman Reigns as a heel, and Roman Reigns is going to be a great heel, with Heyman. I mean, they've given the thing a spark. Bayley was great. Bayley was freaking great, and Sasha Banks can sell like a motherfucker. Is that a good term? But she can sell, and that was a great angle, and we knew it was going to happen. I mean, it's too bad because Bayley and Banks as a team really were good, but we always knew
all the times in the past 4 years to actually break them up. It's like now, when they were the best thing on 3 shows at the same time, they're history.
Well, they have something to do, though. It's not like look, I've seen enough breakups where they got no idea, then they break people up for the sake of breaking them up. This was always the plan. I mean, look, the plan was to do it before WrestleMania, and we're way past WrestleMania. So they went far longer than was whatever. Then the plan was before SummerSlam, and they went past SummerSlam. Eventually, they're going to do it. Whether it was still too early, it was still too early. But, they dragged, they changed plans multiple times on this one. So, they went as far as they were going to go with it. Yeah, I think it was still too quick, though. But, the end result was still going to be, if it wasn't now, it was going to be in 3 months. And they were still going to get there. And hopefully, at first, I think the feud will work. Hopefully it has legs. Hopefully they both can stay strong in the long run, because as a team, they would stay strong forever. And, again, we've seen many examples of them breaking people up, and both members of the breakup end up doing worse because they really have no long-term plan. They just want to do the breakup. This one, at least there's a long-term plan involved, but, whether they should have done it now, I would say no. It was too early.
What do you think of this show?
Tonight's show?
The Smackdown show.
Like I said, I liked, the Bayley thing, it was like, they really have gotten exactly what they want out of fans when they tell the fans what to do. Like everybody's booing Bayley, and it's so fake when you see all those thumbs down, because they're all instructed to do it. But that is what they want. So they finally have a crowd that they can control. So from their standpoint, this is the greatest thing in the world. They get people booed. They get people booed that they want to get booed. AJ and Jeff Hardy was, total disappointment, non-finish. Sets up a 3-way, which we knew they were going to. They had Cesaro and Nakamura lose to the Lucha House Party due to whatever it was, private Street Profits screwing up, or just partying in their dressing room, and they got distracted. So that was a goofy thing. And, the Otis stuff was whatever. And, Roman Reigns and Uso. Roman Reigns doesn't show up until the finish, 4-minute main event. Nice little thing there. As far as, we all know Roman Reigns is going to, turn on Uso, but Uso doesn't know it, but he's sort of getting the idea that something's amiss because the guy came out late.
What a dummy.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows but him.
He knows. He knows, but he's trying to not admit to it, I think. Once the guy doesn't show up at the beginning of the match. Anyway, here's the thing. if it's a tag match and you're waiting for the other guy to get there, why did the bell ring? Why didn't they just wait for Roman Reigns to come out?
Well, you can't tell your story if you do that, but it was completely ridiculous when Jey Uso gets jumped before the bell. The heels are beating on him. There's no Roman Reigns, and the ref just rang the bell to start the match.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But they're just trying to do this.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of these days because that's the story with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns...
He's going to show up late.
Shows up at the last second, steals a win that he doesn't deserve. That's the heat.
Yep. So, and that's the idea of turning him heel. And they got him with Heyman, and Heyman is now, what is he, the counsel to the tribal chief?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the new thing. The idea is like, Heyman is supposed to be a completely different Paul Heyman than he was with Brock Lesnar. It's like with Brock Lesnar, it was the screaming, my name is Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar. And with Roman Reigns, it's supposed to be soft-spoken, and he's not the advocate. He's the general counsel, I think, or whatever. And it's just they're trying to do a whole different thing. But they really, they have good chemistry. And, it was different. Paul Heyman, it was good. And
it totally makes the SmackDown start to feel more like an A show again. Like before Roman came back, I mean, this was like a distant B show, sometimes even a C show.
I wonder if they're going to move them to Raw.
Oh my God!
Speaking of which,
Mandy Rose has been moved to Raw.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. Did you see AJ Styles mad because
he can't go to his kid's game on Fridays?
I couldn't believe when I heard that. It's like. But I guess. What kind of foresight is this when it's like, you know what I mean? It's like you throw a tantrum, which basically he did. That you've got to get off Raw and go to SmackDown, and now you're on SmackDown, which tapes every Friday night, and now you're mad that you're missing your son's high school football games because they're on Friday nights. It's like, what?
Well, believe it or not, to be somewhat fair to AJ, I mean, when he got really mad and wanted to go to SmackDown, this was pre-Thunderdome, and so they were taping like Monday, Tuesday, and
that's true.
And conceivably, he had no idea that all of a sudden, within 2 weeks, they were going to be going live every Friday. So he may have been caught off guard by this.
But they were taping some SmackDowns on Friday. It wasn't like they were doing a lot of Monday, Tuesday then, but they were getting screwed up and they were going to a lot of Fridays because they weren't taping on time and stuff like that all the time. But you had to figure, well, that's true though. The one thing is true is they were still taping a lot on Fridays, but you can't figure, in March what was going to happen because nobody knew. Nobody knew what was going to go on as far as anything. I mean, you didn't even know if there was going to be high school football, and in some places there isn't. So, a lot of places. So, yeah, that's true. But still, I don't know. And I'm just wondering because when they do, the last we heard the draft was going to be in October, and if they do,
yeah, it's like if there's going to be a draft in October, why did we do an angle to move Mandy Rose to Raw
just a couple weeks before the draft?
Saturday? It doesn't even make any sense. Yes, on Talking Smack, they did an angle where Miz announced that Mandy Rose has been moved to Raw, and the storyline explanation was that him and Morrison are mad at Otis. And because he's in tight with executives at USA, he called in a favor. It's like, what?
I know.
So all that work that they put into that Mandy Otis storyline.
Well, I think that
it's over at the moment.
Well, my impression is that the way the storyline is going is that these two are going to continue their romance. They just made the romance more difficult by being on separate shows.
Well, yeah, that's what they're claiming. But I mean, how are we going to follow we have to just go on her Instagram to follow the romance of
I don't know.
Mandy Rose and Otis when they're on separate shows?
Maybe we're going to have a thing where they're having a long distance relationship because we're under the impression that
they can never see each other because they only live one day a week in this universe.
Yes, they can never see each other, but they're trying to continue to, and it's just a way of whatever. There may be a storyline to this. I mean, if they just go over there and then they just drop the storyline cold That would be so bad. That would be like the worst storytelling in the world.
Well, right
but
now
I think,
it's a storyline playing out on Talking Smack. So I don't have high hopes for this being
they only
a
shot it on
long-term...
They only shot it on Talking Smack. We'll have to watch each week to see how it plays out. I mean, look, it's WWE. They may just figure that we don't got a way out of this thing, and we don't want to break them up because then people will get mad at one or the other. So what we'll do is we'll do it this way, and then we can forget about it. It could be that. It easily could be that, which would be really bad, but that's possible. Or it could be that they do the thing where you want them back together again, and it's only a couple of weeks, and then there's the draft comes, and maybe Otis goes to Raw. And, and then you could do the thing where Otis goes to Raw and they draft Mandy to SmackDown, so they've got to do, you know what I mean? They make it, you want them together and they don't. That's classic television writing.
Well, I mean, I have always figured that at some point Drew's going to lose the title to set up him winning the title back on a big show with fans because he didn't get that the first time. So it could be that they want to split up Otis and Mandy for a while. And one of these days, when fans can get back in buildings, they can do the big reuniting and they can do their big kiss in front of people and finally get the pop they never got.
I guess, but that's not, that's already been done. You can't do that again. It's not like being that in front of fans isn't that big of a deal. It's not like, and again, it's not like
it's a bigger deal than in front of no fans, which is what happened the first time.
Yeah, but that was just the timing. It had to be like that. The thing is that that's not carrying the promotion. I mean, it's not like Otis or Mandy by, doing the angle, it like lessens anything of anything because it's like, that's not a needle moving program. That's just something fun that you do on television, whereas the championship, we're elevating someone to a top position or giving someone their big career win that changes everything. Those things, that's a lot bigger storyline than the kiss that's already happened. Once it's already happened, it's already happened. Having the kiss the second time, it's not even a big deal.
Oh, come on. When Elizabeth ran down there to save Randy Savage.
That was years later. I mean,
yes.
If they wait years to do it again, yes, absolutely.
I don't know about years, but maybe WrestleMania.
No, yeah, I could see.
I don't think splitting them up to set up a kiss in October is going to mean jack shit, but maybe when there's fans, if there's fans at WrestleMania or next year's SummerSlam, although there's no way the storyline will last until next year's SummerSlam. So I don't even know what I'm talking about. But in theory, I mean, maybe you could pull that off.
In theory, you could pull it off till Mania if you keep them apart for a while. But then how do you get rid of it? Because you can't let it go forever.
I don't know. Maybe do what Lana and Lashley did.
Oh, that's going to be great. Seeing that.
Well, back to reality here. To nothingness. Smackdown.
We're going to talk Smackdown now?
Yeah. That first hour was rotten. Do you hear me? That first hour of Smackdown was so horrible. The second hour was a vast improvement over the first, which is very low praise.
Yes. I mean,
holy smokes, that first hour. Just brutal. I
couldn't get past the booking and the logic or lack thereof all the way across the night. I wasn't bored during the show, but like that, the Cesaro Grand Metalik match, when it was over, because they'd already announced the tag team title match. Okay. They've already announced, it's like number one, so Cesaro, it's the tag team title match is Lucha House Party against Nakamura and Cesaro. We've already seen the match, okay, and I know that they won the non-title match, but it was done in such a fluky way, with the outside interference or distraction that you didn't really believe that it, that, you know what I mean? It wasn't like they beat them to earn the title match, and they're treated like jobbers, and they've been jobbers, and then they announced this match, and it's like, okay, they announced this match, so obviously, because frickin' Grand Metalik needs a big win because nobody, as good as Grand Metalik is, nobody believes him because they've treated him like a jobber for all these years. And Cesaro beats him with a neutralizer. I'm going like, what the fuck? I mean, it's like you already got Bayley with Nikki Cross, who, Bayley's beaten 100 times, and they call attention to it and tell you in one of the later things, he's like, you never beat her ever. She always beats you. You haven't beat her in a year. And so they already have that as a weak match. They got that tag team title match is a weak match. And then we're going to get to that Raw tag team title later when we talk about, we'll talk about it right now. Then they got the Raw tag team title match, which will be decided tomorrow on Raw or Monday on Raw. And the whole deal is the whole thing, this goes for NXT too. You've got a situation where they have a takeover on the 4th, and they got Clash of Champions on the 27th. And with the exception of Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, which is probably going to wind up being a 3-way anyway, they've got nothing really planned, if you know what I mean. They had nothing. They throw Jey Uso out of mothballs and put him in a championship match with Roman, which I will say I like aspects of the brother thing, or the, even though they're cousins, and the way they built that up. There is a story there, but nobody believes Jey Uso is going to win. And I mean, when you watch the show, they don't even give you this idea that, oh, Jey Uso's so hot and he's on a roll. It's just like Jey Uso's there and he's his cousin, and Roman always beat him up when they were kids, and now he's a man, and Roman's going to beat him up anyway, because Roman is portrayed on this show like he is the only star on this show, and everybody else are geeks. It's like he is a star, whether he should be, or whether he's over like a star, or whatever you want to say. Obviously, he helped ratings for a couple weeks, and this week, not so much. But the thing is, he is portrayed like a big star. You watch this thing and you go, Roman Reigns is the star of this brand, and probably the star of the company. And with Heyman there and everything like that, and he carries himself well. He looks there, he looks good. He knows how to work that way. He's great. Okay, Jey Uso is just like this mid-card guy who they portray as this good work and mid-card guy, but not a serious threat. So we got that match, which is no threat. We got, like we said, Nikki Cross, who's been pushed not at all, going for a title. We got Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, which they have not been pushed worth a shit. They're going for titles. You got the Lucha House Party, who are jobbers, they're going for titles. Then we got this Raw tag team thing. So the Street Profits are going to defend against one of these three teams. It's going to be Andrade and Angel Garza, who already broke up.
Did you say Andrade and Angel Garza?
Yes. They already broke up. Or it's going to be Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, who also...
Excuse me, did you say Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy?
Yes, who also already broke up, in theory at least. I mean, he slapped him around for 2 weeks, and then the third team is Dominic Mysterio and Humberto Carrillo. So Dominic Mysterio, who always looks good in losing, and Humberto Carrillo, who they've taken off the fucking show and has been losing on Superstars, and now he's going for the tag team title. It's like, okay, I have nothing against any of these three teams. If any of these three teams had been pushed like they're going to be a threat and they win this 3-way over the other two teams, that's fine. But you can see that there was no foresight, because Carrillo and Dominic.
Foresight.
I mean, it's like there's no it's like when a month ago, when you're going like, okay, what are we going to do on this pay-per-view? It's like you can look, because you can go back and go like, okay, I can see, like when I watch AEW, I can see, like weeks ago I didn't see it, but now I see it looking backwards, exactly what they were doing here and here and here. And in New Japan with Gedo, it's like you always see it. Okay, you always see, this is like planned for 6 months, right? This stuff, it wasn't even planned last week. They break up these two teams. Then they're going to put them going for the title. Then they got this third team that's never teamed before, that they never planned anything with. And Carrillo is just like, who do we got? We got two heel teams. We need a babyface team for this match. I guess they could have put Ricochet and Apollo Crews. But
no, it should have been Ricochet and Cedric, because they just broke up.
You're right. That would have actually made sense compared to everything else that they're doing. So it's like, I'm watching this stuff, and it's like there is no long-term, and when I say long-term, I mean like 5 days planning. And then the frickin' lawsuit over the frickin' briefcase. It's just like, when it comes to bad storylines, that's a bad storyline.
Well, the ratings were down for SmackDown.
Okay, well, I guess I got to talk about that. So the briefcase thing. Okay, so Miz and Morrison are doing the dirt sheet, and Otis comes in and beats them both up. And after, and they're trying to rile up Otis because they're going like Mandy Rose is on Raw, and all those Raw guys are going to be after her, and she's going to drop Otis. And then they go, and Dolph is now on Raw, and they used to date. And so Otis comes out, and he beats the shit out of both of them. And then Morrison's kind of looking at Miz, is like, yeah, that's a pretty dumb idea. And he goes, no, he fell into our plan, which Morrison obviously didn't know what the plan was. But the plan is that between like the first segment and like maybe, I don't know what segment it was, the fifth segment, Miz like had a lawyer draft a lawsuit, which was pretty impressive, about unsafe working conditions, which was the old Shawn Michaels gimmick, and whatever, like so they're suing Otis, but they'll drop the lawsuit if he gives up the briefcase. So either they're going to sue, or the deal here is we got no fucking idea how to get Otis out of this briefcase that we put it on him. So this is how we're going to get off him. And it's like, that's what this is.
How are they suing over getting beaten up on a wrestling show?
That's another question. I don't have an answer. They've got a story. I mean, and maybe in 3 weeks the story will even make sense. But it's stupid. I mean, but that's the whole thing. It's stupid. How are you filing a lawsuit for unsafe working environment because a guy beat you up in a wrestling angle, which happens 15 times on every show?
How many times have they beaten him up in a wrestling angle? 50 times?
I don't know.
Any other thoughts on SmackDown Friday?
You want me to talk about Matt Riddle and Corbin?
If you want to. I mean, it's not like I didn't say that was going to happen. Like the day he debuted and started feuding with him.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they're doing.
Well, no kidding. Well, here's the thing. Okay. I'm watching this match, and it's like Corbin's probably taking 80% of the match. And so I'm going, okay, he's taking 80% of the match because, it's like, I don't even like that because it's like, if you're going to build a guy up, build a guy up. If you're not going to build the guy up, what's the point? What's the point of bringing in a guy who, I mean, yeah, I know you need to have undercard guys to fill in, a card, but they damn near, they got to make stars. Everyone knows the biggest problem in that company is that they don't make stars. And here they've got a guy who they can make a star. He's gotten over everywhere he's ever worked. He got over in NXT instantly. And you're just out there beating him like a drum because you think, that's the way to get him over. And I'm sure the mentality is, well, we gave him a promo after where he like told everyone, that he's going to do better. And it's like, yeah, that's great if you want to make him a second match guy in the card. If you want to make him a main eventer, that's not the way to go. And it's not like he's a young guy either. He's 34 years old, I think. So it's not like you go like, well, he's only like 23 years old. So, we got time. It's like, but whatever. That was that. The Alexa Bliss stuff is what it is. Her match with Lacey Evans was pretty bad. And then had that,
it's lame.
Yeah. They had that lame stuff. The Fiends.
He laughs and they go to commercial. They come back and like, it's like nothing happened. It's like I heard the guy laugh. And by the way, what a great time to go to commercial. The guy's laughing. And then later, like the music hits or whatever. She's a zombie. I mean, I'm sure there is a segment of the audience that think this is the most awesome angle ever, but it's ridiculous, in my opinion.
It was just there. I mean, I sort of see what they're doing, and there is a little bit of intrigue. I think there are people who want to see something with like Bray Wyatt and Alexa Bliss and see it go somewhere. So that's fine. And Lacey Evans is kind of a throwaway in the sense that you can, whatever you do with her, that's fine. Cause they're just, I remember like, what was it? A year ago or so, like she was going to be the big thing. And then they gave up, that's what happened. They gave up. And so she's just there. And, but you know what? A DQ for not breaking at the count of 5 on the ropes. You know what I mean? do we really? I don't know. It's like they just don't care about finishes or anything like that. I know that they think that you can do it, even though nobody else does it, because again, they're still back in a different era when it comes to finishes, and perhaps their audience is okay with that. But everybody else has moved past that era, and they're still back in that era. It's just so weird that time moves on. And
why is this weird? The guy running the place is 74.
Yeah, and the other guy,
he's out there like coming up with new ideas.
Well, no, but you should evolve in time. And
why would he? What do you think he's watching? You think he's watching AEW
well, no, he's
or
not,
New Japan or anything else?
He's not paying attention to anything. But the beginning of the evolution, when people stopped, when people stopped accepting, like again, right now you can get away with it because you have no crowd, so no one's like groaning. But it's like how many years? Well, there was a point. And I think it's about 15 years ago where these finishes went from heat to groan. And when they go from heat to groan, you learn from them and you go, okay, time has changed. But they're still doing them. It's just like they're not listening to the crowd. They're 15 years behind the crowd. And, they paid the price for that by loss of audience.
What did you think of the Smackdown show?
The first 15 minutes with Roman Reigns and Jey Uso was pretty good, but then the end was that they're going to do a match in Hell in a Cell. And I'll tell you what, after that first match, which was very compelling, but when it was over, I did not want to see a rematch. I saw the match. You know what I mean? I saw a one-sided match, and I didn't need to, you know what I mean? It's like if they were going to build a rematch, if they weren't going to build a rematch, that match was fine, but that match to build a rematch, I don't get it. So,
well, that's why Jey Uso went in and beat AJ Styles.
So what? We already saw the Roman Reigns match.
I know, but I'm telling you, that's why these things happen. They just figure, we'll just build this guy up from here.
They had to rehab him, and AJ Styles was the best guy that they could give him a win over. I got that, but it's already been done. The curious thing watching this, and you don't know, and but on Raw tomorrow, and on NXT, and also on next week's show, guys who do jobs in a manner that they normally wouldn't are probably pretty good candidates to be switching. And when I watch it, I really sensed AJ and John Morrison, because that John Morrison job, it's just like, what the hell is this? And I thought, next week's the draft, so maybe that's why they do that. I don't know, but
at the very least, let the guy have a decent match with Otis before you beat him. This was a total squash match.
Yeah, it was like the guy. This was like a star leaving the territory, and that's what they do when they switch brands. They have that mentality of a star leaving the territory. This is just, you just lose, and the idea is that when you debut on the other show, you're fresh. Which, it made sense in the old days, because when you left and went to another territory, those people in the new territory didn't see you do that job. You know what I mean? You're in a new part of the country, but when they just saw it the week before, it's kind of weird, but that's just how that's part of the MO. But whatever it was, my thought when I watched that thing, and the other one was Chad Gable. Even though he always loses, that was
Chad Gable loses like that every week.
Yeah, but that was a different level. Usually they would give him like 6 minutes, not like 50 seconds. He would still get beat. So that was those were different level. Like with I guess we'll see in Friday and Monday, what happens with these guys. But like real squashes. So Otis. So we're gonna get I'll tell you what, the legal process when it comes to SmackDown is certainly speedier than our real justice system, because that suit was just filed, and I think we're having the trial next week, and Otis is going to defend himself because he can't afford a lawyer or something. Is that the story?
I don't know if it's because he can't afford a lawyer, but he has chosen to represent himself. Yes.
Yeah. Wonder if he gets to keep his briefcase.
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
I presume so. What? Because then they can't figure out how they're going to get the title on or off Otis, but it's going to be easier to figure this out with The Miz.
Well, Miz can whatever, God, could you imagine putting the title on Miz? I can't imagine them doing that.
I can imagine putting the title on Otis briefly if we have to.
Not with Roman Reigns as champion. I can't imagine it.
Well, I guess there is that.
Roman
We could go
Reigns
to
is too big of a star to be wasting his time losing to Otis.
Maybe he can
Braun
cash in for like the
Strowman-
Intercontinental title or something.
Yeah, boy, if he could cash in for another belt, that would make sense. Like on Sami Zayn, yeah. But I don't think that's part of the deal.
Tag titles? Well, it should be part of the deal. Otherwise, what's the point of having a Money in the Bank match if 80% of the time you put the briefcase on somebody and you don't actually want to make them the champion?
Well, it's not 80% of the time. It's most of the time they do, and then some years you got they get buyer's remorse, and which happens all the time. But because usually when they have the guy, it's usually to do something with the guy. In this case, maybe at that point on that day they had some idea of something, and I don't know. Maybe they still do, but everything between the Money in the Bank match and now the landscape has totally changed. I mean, this is a total Roman Reigns brand, and the problem is now they've got to get. And I don't know what's going to happen with the Fiend. I mean, obviously the Fiend and Kevin Owens are doing something, but that's on TV this week, which is I wonder where that's going. It's like, is he is just going to squash Kevin Owens? Is Kevin Owens move to SmackDown? They certainly were teasing the idea of Roman Reigns and the Fiend, and that was obviously the plan for WrestleMania at one point. So it was the plan for like 6 months. They never got to it. So you would think that they would want to get to it, but now Roman Reigns is a heel, so it kind of makes. I mean, I guess you could do heel versus heel, but it kind of makes no sense. And the Fiend is a babyface. I guess maybe it's not so bad the Fiend is a babyface because when the Fiend was a heel, he killed all the babyfaces, and they had to all turn. So maybe as a babyface, you can kill a heel in a different way where it's not quite as bad as when you kill a babyface. So who knows? Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of different directions they can go. I don't know if any of them will be good, but I mean, the SmackDown, like the Jeff Hardy Sami Zayn match, I liked.
We had the first night of the draft. Second
Jeff
night
Hardy
is coming on Monday,
when
and
Jeff
we
Hardy
actually
was at
had
that
some
point,
noteworthy
he turned around
things
next week, too.
occurring, not the least of which was the breakup of the New Day. Xavier and Kofi are going to Raw, Big E is staying on SmackDown, and they broke up Otis and Tucker as well. Tucker's on his way to Raw.
Tucker's on his way to nowhere.
He's on his way to Raw Underground, actually. So going to Raw after SmackDown, we've got Drew McIntyre, Asuka, all of the Hurt Business, AJ Styles, which we expected.
Basically, almost everyone stayed the same other than a few people. I mean, it was just...
all right, the people that switched were AJ, Naomi,
Bianca Belair.
Miz and Morrison, obviously Kofi and Xavier.
everyone in the Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio feud, that entire feud was moved over. The new Xavier and Kofi moved. It was basically a couple of trades, so to speak. So you had, Seth and the whole crew went, but it was kind of like a trade, Seth for AJ. Then that crew went with him because they had to, because, the one thing is right. SmackDown is got the better of it by a big, by a large margin, because there's only 3 hot acts right now in WWE, or 3 hot things. And it's, the Seth Ray thing, because of Aaliyah and Freddie Murphy, the Sasha Banks and Bayley. It's not official that Bayley is staying, but the fact that Asuka's staying makes me think that Bayley will stay, because, if they're going to switch one title, they always would switch the other one with it. Like with the tag team, they have not moved the Street Profits over, but, it's, put it this way. It absolutely, as of this morning, the Street Profits were moving. So it was basically a trade. You get the one, the tag team champions split, with, Drew and Roman Reigns are staying, and with the Hurt Business staying, that probably means that Sami Zayn is staying, or they'll do something. I mean, if he's not, then they're going to have to get the title off of him, because they're not going to have the U.S. and Intercontinental on the same brand, most likely. So the Street Profits and Xavier and Kofi is like a trade, essentially. But the other two act is the Roman Reigns and Sasha and Bailey. So it looks like they're all, at least two of the three for sure. And since Sasha is definitely still on SmackDown, if Bailey's not, then they're, the amount of stupidity that I would say that would be incredibly high, and I do not expect that level of stupidity, from them. So it's just interesting how, again, SmackDown got the three hottest acts out of the whole thing. I guess you could say Drew and Orton is hot, but it's to me, Drew and Orton's runs its course. They're probably, I think that there's going to be, besides AJ, I think they're going to send one more guy from SmackDown over for Drew, so he'll have some new opponents. And as far as that's, Miz and Morrison. So there's probably going to be, with Miz and Morrison going to Raw, I wonder if they consider, who would go over there. Maybe that's just, what would I say? There'll probably be somebody of equivalent value, and then there's got to be a couple of names to go to Raw from SmackDown to make up for, them getting, Seth, Buddy Murphy, Ray, and Dominic. So that's the situation. The New Day thing obviously is probably the most talked about. I think everyone knows that the people are going to be absolutely furious about it. And, you watched it. I thought, I think that their mentality is that they want to give Big E a big singles push. And in their mind, if he's part of the New Day, then people will want them together as a team. It doesn't have to be that way. I don't think that breaking them up was the right thing to do, but if Big E becomes a big time single star at the end, I'm sure, if they go all the way with him, then they'll figure that everyone will be happy with that, and they will be. So, that's the main thing there. But, so the other one that's interesting is, Naomi, which is basic trade for Bianca. And so I figured, okay, so Bianca's going because the Street Profits are going. Makes sense, right? So we got to send someone to either side. And, it's so weird to me because it's like, I watched this show and they made that mention of Stephanie McMahon being like the number one women's CMO in the country or the world or whatever it was, the Forbes thing, right? And I don't know all the CMOs in every company in the world, and as far as this is not about Stephanie so much as what they credit Stephanie for, which was how the company handled COVID and their treatment of minorities. And it's just like, they're 40 years behind in the way they treat minorities, and their treatment of COVID is probably.
Dude, this was their exact words. She's the world's most influential CMO.
No. Well.
No, these are the exact words, Dave.
Okay.
The world's most influential CMO.
Female. They said female because they actually was a male who finished in front of her, but they said female to she was not ranked number one, but if you say female, she was the highest ranked female, so they specified female because she was in that ranking.
This is for championing women's equality in 2016, by the way.
Yeah, and they've been what women's equality, even to this day, there's never been a woman who was paid at the same level as the top men. There have been women who, in the last couple of years, who have been paid very well. Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, and Ronda Rousey, of course, was one of the highest paid, but when Becky Lynch was, the hottest female star, it's not like she made more money than Roman Reigns did or Brock Lesnar, because she did not. But whatever. But the idea that, again, women, the plight of women in wrestling right now is in WWE is the best that it's ever been. So we should, in that sense, say it is progressing, but they are still way behind the rest of the world. And decades behind, really, in a lot of ways. And then as far as the COVID...
For providing for the safety of the fans and wrestlers during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
They were laughably inept until they had an outbreak. Which, by the way, involved friends, family, and wrestlers all at the same time.
Yeah. But even they had a second outbreak, which, again... You could sort of, okay. It's hard for me to blame them, except, I can't blame them. Shit happens, okay? But if you compare what they have done as compared to so many others, whether it be like UFC, it's just like, come on. And then even this one, with, putting all those people in that indoor place so close together. I'm sure that there are independent pro wrestling groups that certainly have not done as good a job with this as WWE. Okay. As far as major promotions in wrestling and as far as major sports, when we talk about NBA, NHL, baseball, NFL, has anyone been as lax as WWE? And in pro wrestling, if you're gonna, make a list of the ones who handle it the best of the major companies, Ring of Honor and New Japan are right at the top, and then, without a doubt, AEW is way ahead of WWE. Of the major groups, I don't know what Impact has done, but they certainly haven't had any outbreaks. So, their results wise, they're ahead. I don't know that they, again, I don't know all the protocols Impact has done, but I do know what the other companies have done. And yeah, so, it was like when I heard that, it was just kind of like, geez. But anyway, the whole thing is when it comes to these trades, it's like, you're going to trade Bianca and it's Naomi, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay. That's a lot of real interesting thinking. But the deal, so Bianca, because of the Street Profits, so with Naomi, because Naomi's married to Jimmy Uso, and Jey Uso's staying on SmackDown. So that becomes real interesting. But the one thing is...
Well, right now it's not that interesting because there's no
Jimmy's
touring.
Hurt. There's Jimmy's hurt. Right, and because of no touring right now...
They're not going anywhere. They're not on the road. They just show up for the show and then they go home.
Right, it's not that bad as it would be in another era where you don't want to split up couples because then they'd almost never see each other. Whereas now it is only one day a week and it's not the end of the world. So, but still, as far as like splitting up, they haven't done that yet with anyone, but Jimmy Uso will be decided on Monday. And it will be interesting to see which side he ends up, if they put him in the same group as his wife or with his brother and longtime tag team partner. I was given the impression they're not breaking up the team, but
if he's still injured, I guess
he's not. He's going. Yeah, he's not going to be back for a while.
Yeah, normally when somebody's injured, they just don't get drafted. Sometimes they do, but in general,
his name was listed. His name was listed for Monday.
Well, they've also listed names for Monday and taken names off of those lists for Monday. So I think that, and plus they also had, Chad Gable didn't get drafted. He didn't get picked. So he's in limbo. This is not a science here. This is, we're doing whatever we're doing at any given time.
Right, and everything can change in a heartbeat, and they can move. And I mean, the big take on the draft, and of course, the actual rating is not going to be in until Monday, and we won't have all the details till Tuesday. But Monday's when the rating comes in. But the preliminary number that came in, so disappointing. I mean, it essentially was almost identical to last week. And granted, I mean, they did have a big NBA game head to head, but the draft, and you got to remember, this is not just the draft. This was a loaded up show. It was the first Bayley-Sasha Banks match after their feud. I mean, that should have been, if that means nothing, then boy, should they have never split them up, because...
Well, quite frankly, I think that we're mostly down to a lot of hardcores, and I don't think one person on this planet thought we were going to get a finish in that match. I think everybody knew it was going to be an angle to set up Hell in a Cell. I certainly did, which is exactly what it was.
It was such a nothing.
They went 2 minutes in a chair shot DQ to set up Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that's. But the point is that they still advertised for a week Bayley and Sasha Banks coming off of it. They did promos for it, and if that didn't move ratings, that's a real bad sign. But the draft itself should have moved it hundreds of thousands, and it does not look like it did that at all. And I mean, I think that the whole thing is that I think this whole last year absolutely killed the idea of the draft, because number one, last year's draft was such bad television. I mean, I was at the Smackdown. So I was at the first night of the draft because it was in Vegas, and I was there for, what was I there for? Oh, I was there for, well, a bunch of stuff. They had the press conference and the video game convention and everything. So, yeah, that was a really bad television show, and so was the Raw, and so that didn't help. And then when guys are going back and forth all year after you say that they're not going to, and people like the Mandy Rose thing a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke were both drafted to Raw like 3 weeks after they. 2 weeks after Dana, and like a couple weeks before that, they announced Mandy. But she hadn't debuted. It's like, I mean, couldn't you have just waited 2 weeks and actually made it something? But they had that angle with Otis. And, okay, so now think about this. What the fuck is the angle with Otis? Miz and Morrison are on the other side. They were supposed to do the big court thing, and then they just had a continuance. So it's like they advertised for a week. The court thing, the end of this angle, that was advertised. And they didn't even, not only they don't deliver it, they announce it's a continuance. What does that mean when Miz and Morrison are on the other side now? So it's, in theory, that's a dead issue.
Well, I mean, technically you can still go to court if your opponent is on another brand.
Can you? Is that one of the loopholes?
Well, I think so. I mean, if they're SmackDown or Raw, I mean, someone's got to televise this court case, but I mean, they could both be in the courtroom if they're on opposite brands.
How come Otis and Mandy can't be, like, on the other 5 days a week, have a relationship?
They can. Just not on television, apparently.
No.
I think the bigger issue, Dave, is this.
They pretty much told us that they can't. That was the whole idea behind this whole thing, is that they can't.
Well, that's stupid, but so
I know it's stupid.
So this whole court case is going to lead to whoever gets control of the briefcase, but they're not going to follow up in any way because they're on opposite brands. Or are they going to do a draft and then announce that the quarterly Superstar brand-to-brand invitational is still in effect, and Survivor Series will be a combined brand show? That's why nobody cares about the draft. That's right there is why.
Well, everything like this, everything where people like switch back and forth for no reason all the time, like AJ and all this, and then you have this quarterly whatever thing which matters some weeks, and then other weeks it doesn't matter. Like Kevin Owens came over, was that part of it this week? But when Braun Strowman did it, it wasn't. I mean, that's just completely weird. But everyone knows it's all bullshit. And what they've done is they've taken this draft thing, which, historically has been a huge ratings draw year after year after year. And they've ruined it to where, in fact, they've killed it. It's done. Nobody cared because the rating, like you said, this is about where the rating is every week when they have nothing special. And they had a draft, and they had Bayley and Sasha, and they had the debut of The Fiend, and they had the frickin' court case that they decided to just forget about, all on the same show. and the rating didn't move. And I know, like, but you can say like, well, it's a big game. They were against the finals last week, and they had, essentially the same.
How
number.
is this the debut of the Fiend?
It was the debut. The Fiend had never done a match on SmackDown before. They'd been promoting it that way all week.
Wow. Well, I didn't think about it for 1 second. I've seen the Fiend wrestle 1,000 times,
but never on SmackDown. That was the whole thing.
This is like when they had that record for Charlotte where she was undefeated, but it was only on pay-per-view. But she got beat on TV all the time, and we were somehow supposed to care. But in fact, nobody did. Because it's bullshit.
Yeah. So next week, they're doing Roman Reigns and Braun, which, there's
a match we've never seen before.
Yeah.
2 heels, by the way.
Braun? Yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
Yeah, Braun's a heel.
Is he?
He was last time I saw him.
Well, he sort of turned, but then they've dropped it. Then they just forgot about it. I mean, they sort of did a double turn with but the Fiend was still a heel, so I don't know what they did.
Well, anyway, we also had the return on SmackDown of Lars Sullivan, and he destroyed... Actually, Matt Riddle was in the segment. Matt Riddle not only was on the show, but he won.
He won.
And then Lars Sullivan returned, and he destroyed both of the baby faces and Miz for good measure. And
well, I knew that you could tell by that Miz and Morrison were on the way out. When Morrison got squashed, I didn't know Miz was, but I mean, from last week's TV, it was I thought it was pretty clear Morrison. And what does it matter? It's like they had a chance with Morrison a long time ago when he first came back, but they positioned him exactly where he was, doing the exact same thing as 8 years ago. He didn't evolve his character at all, and I mean and he's improved his game, especially the talking side of it, but. Whatever. I mean, I'm not surprised, when they slot you, they shouldn't slot you for life, but they do.
So they announced that Lars will be in Monday's draft pool. So I guess we'll find out where he's going. My guess would be SmackDown based on what they did, but who knows?
Who knows? I mean, I would
Actually, he beat up people that were on SmackDown and that are now on Raw, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would guess SmackDown, and the reason I say that is because I would figure that they would keep Braun Strowman and Lars on separate sides. So, that's not necessarily true, but that's kind of how I would do it.
Braun is on SmackDown.
But Braun's going to go to Raw, is what I'm thinking.
I see.
Yeah. I mean, that's certainly, put it this way, Braun was going to Raw in the original thing for this. Obviously it can change, but he was. And that's why I figure, with Roman Reigns, that's the way to kind of like, you do the job on the way out and Braun's leaving and they're trying to get a rating for next week. So, and then the week after is going to be the week they're on FS1. So that'll be an interesting week as well.
Wait a second. So you're telling me that Braun Strowman is going to be drafted to Raw and then he's immediately going to go and work the match on SmackDown because they advertised it this week?
Yes, but who knows who knows they'll say it's already advertised.
Well, God forbid we ever announce a match and not deliver to these fans, Dave.
Well, that also could happen. I don't count on anything, obviously. Look, I mean, you know how this goes. Everything is there's nothing that's like decided. I mean, there's stuff that's decided, but that doesn't mean that it can't change in like a heartbeat. I mean, you've seen how this thing works. So that's just what it is. I mean, they did the Sasha Bailey match and it was 2-minute nothing. Now they're going to be in Hell in a Cell. That's cool. They did the, they did the Bray Wyatt and Kevin Owens, the Fiend and Kevin Owens thing.
That was a really good match.
Well, yeah, Kevin Owens is a great worker.
Man, They worked their asses off. They beat the hell out of each other. It was great. I really liked that match.
Oh yeah, I did too. It was really good. Kevin Owens is great. No, I mean, like if you let him go, and I mean the Fiend matches usually suck, but if the guy who's against the Fiend is really, really aggressive, you can make it work. Daniel Bryan had a phenomenal match with the Fiend. Some of the other guys, not so much. I mean, he the Miz, those matches were terrible. Seth, the problem with the Seth thing is the way they portrayed Seth. They almost ruined his career, but he sort of saved it by going heel. But yeah, they killed him as a babyface going against the Fiend, which he blamed on the fans.
And they killed Hell in a Cell, by the way, but I guess they're hoping that people will forget that.
They're hoping. Look, they didn't forget about the draft because nobody cared. So, this rating was part of the price you pay for, screwing with a concept that used to work. Because, like the whole deal is that how, it's like, how are you going to make this brand split mean anything when you don't care about when every time that ratings go down, what do? We got to get guys from the other brand over. So it's kind of like, well, now that we know that, what does this draft mean? It means nothing. So, yeah,
well, what was not as great as the G1, but was still one of the better ones that I've seen in a while, Smackdown on Friday.
In fact, means nothing. Yeah, I mean, the New Day stuff was very good because it felt real. I really liked that presentation, and Roman Reigns is great. So, that was well done.
And when Daniel Bryan did his interview and Ray came out, and I was just watching this stuff Bryan's there, Seth is there, Ray is there, Murphy's there.
That was good.
I just thought, they got so much potential. I don't know what they're going to do with it. But when that segment was over, I thought, man, there's a lot of stuff you could do with these guys.
Yeah, well, you're definitely going to do some Seth and Daniel Bryan, but the Ray thing is continuing, and you got Seth and Murphy. So basically, Seth needs some friends. Is the way I looked at it. It's like,
well, luckily for him, there's about 6,000 heels on the brand and on the other brand, so I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, well, he needs to recruit some people. And then you've got the story of Buddy Murphy trying to win over the Mysterio family because of Aaliyah. And that's a good story that you can keep going for a while.
Ray's not down with it yet. He's still upset that this guy tried to take his eyeball out.
Right, well, and he should be. And Dominic, as the older brother who thinks his sister has just got like no taste in guys and is naive and stupid. So, I like the story. It's really a good story. But yeah, Daniel Bryan's back, so that's a good thing. The one thing is like, Daniel Bryan is back after whatever it's been, ever since the first outbreak, he left. And it's like, they announced this, like the day of the show? It's like, they should have had 3 weeks of frickin' vignettes before this thing happened. I mean, it's like, this should have been, like with Roman Reigns, it's like, it's so funny because when Roman Reigns comes back, and granted, like, they did do a surprise, but not for TV. His first TV, everyone knew. Everyone knew his first TV, when it was going to be. And Daniel Bryan, it's like, yeah, they'd announce it at the end, but it's so, they always treat Roman Reigns as something bigger than Daniel Bryan. And he probably is right now, but the reality is if they were treated equally, Daniel Bryan would be twice as big as Roman Reigns. But they just, they just whatever. I mean, it's just the thing. It's like one of the things when we go back in time, the return of Daniel Bryan after that, when they finally cleared him, that first 3 months had to be like the worst part about it is that you would think that someone was trying to sabotage it, and nobody was trying to sabotage it. Like, this was just what they thought was the right thing, and it was so counterproductive, so much that he had to frickin' go heel to get over after how bad it was botched. It's like, this guy should have been like, but then again, Roman Reigns comes back from cancer and they had to turn him heel too. So there you go. I don't know. They don't know how to, they do not know how to book baby faces. Well,
that's a broken record right there.
Well, who they, the new baby face that they think they've made, right?
Well, that new babyface, everybody, is challenging for the Raw Women's title on Monday. It is Lana versus Asuka for the women's title.
They think that all those stuff that Nia Jax did makes her into a super babyface.
Sure.
Yeah.
We got that. We got Keith Lee versus Braun Strowman, an Elias concert, and a Firefly Funhouse. It's the Raw season premiere Friday was the SmackDown season premiere, whatever that
season premiere does not, although I said this last week and I ended up being wrong, but season premiere it does not appear that it worked for SmackDown as far as
You
anything.
weren't that wrong. It's not like the show did 3 million viewers.
No, but it didn't do as bad, and Raw did do better than it usually does. I mean, the draft should do better. The week after the draft should do better as well. You should get one good week after the draft, and then it goes back to normal. And that didn't happen, or at least it's not. We'll know on Tuesday, but as of right now, with the early numbers, it does not appear that happened for SmackDown, where you didn't get it's all these new people starting, and it should be new and intriguing, and it was down, but and real down with 18 to 34s, which is and then next week is real interesting. I mean, you got the World Series on Wednesday, Game 2, and then Game 3 is on Friday. So both are getting hit. SmackDown's moving to FS1 for the week. And
boy, is that going to be a hit. Holy smokes.
Going to be real
888,000 last time.
Yeah, but just remember that SmackDown was way more popular this time a year ago than it is now. But the World Series may not be as big a hit this year as
Did they mention one time on SmackDown that they would be on FS1 next Friday?
Yeah, it was mentioned a couple times.
Okay.
But it wasn't pushed nearly as hard as it was last year. Now that I think about it, because last year when they were going, they just shoved the hell out of it, and the fact that Hogan and Flair were going to be on the show, so they had a big hook. So, yeah, well, we'll see. It's going to look...
Maybe they saw that 880,000 last year and just decided, why even bother? It's going to die. Why waste something on this show? It's not like it would be the first time they've thought that.
Do you really want to risk AEW with competition beating you without competition when it's
Well,
SmackDown?
There's two ways to look at that, Dave. If they did 880 last year, and they think we're lower than we were last year, so we're probably going to do around 880.
Well, I mean that's not the number. The number is the number is the .26 they did last year, which is a lot lower than what AEW does now.
Okay, so
not a lot
what
lower,
is
but it's
more
lower.
embarrassing, to do that number with nothing, or to promote a whole bunch of big things and still do that number?
Well, one of those options is stupid. It's completely stupid. It's just like, oh, we're just going to not even try to promote this.
Do you know how many times you've told me during a holiday or during some sort of competition that they just decided why even bother?
Well,
this would not be the first time this has happened. You've told me this before.
Last year they sure tried.
They sure tried, and look what happened.
Yeah.
Maybe they've learned a lesson.
Well,
the wrong lesson.
Okay. Not promoting a show is always the wrong thing to do. Okay. Not trying is always wrong. I mean, that's the one thing in wrestling. It's like you got to pick your spots, and you don't want to hype something, you can't hype something, try to hotshot something every single week, but you do have to try to at least get an audience. It'll be interesting. It's going to be, the World Series is going to hurt. We got a presidential election coming up. I mean, it's just, I don't expect anything. I don't expect either of those shows, this week to do anything special. But, the AEW show, the show itself on paper looks like really good. That tournament, the Young Bucks match with the four-way. I mean, I expect a really great show from AEW, but the World Series is real competition. Even if it's going to be a down World Series, which it probably will be because the playoffs were so far down, but it's still the World Series, and it's going to hurt both of them. Raw does not go against the World Series, so they. World Series is Tuesday, so they lucked out. But it's still, these news shows are, the news shows are going to be just doing killer numbers from now until Election Day, and probably a couple days after Election Day, and then who knows? Who knows what's going to happen in the news after that? Because no matter who wins, we could be in bad shape. I would not be surprised to see rioting, and it doesn't matter who wins. I'm not picking sides on the rioting. The rioting's going to be bad either way, and it's not good.
All right, before we go, any notes on UFC tonight?
Well, I didn't get to see it, but I know Bryan Ortega beat Korean Zombie. The only thing, I watched the first 2 rounds of the fight, and there was Bryan Ortega threw this, like the greatest Judas effect, better than Will Ospreay, better than Chris Jericho. It was like, this was like the perfect version. And then Jessica Andrade just beat the hell out of, just really, it was like late in the first round, and she just went wild with body punches and everything and took out Caitlin Chukagian. So she should get a shot at Valentina Shevchenko off of this performance. So that match was made, and Dana White had said the winner of Bryan Ortega and Zombie was going to get Alexander Volkanovski. So looks like Bryan Ortega and Alexander Volkanovski is a featherweight championship match that's coming up in a couple of months. I saw a Jimmy Crute knockout, which was third from the top. That was a very impressive looking knockout. And that's all I saw. But I know that I heard that it was a very good show to get today. They've had a string of really good shows. I mean, the one thing with UFC, it's like when I watch it now, I really enjoy it a lot, even with no fans. It's like it doesn't hurt my enjoyment at all. Whereas with wrestling, I mean, even as great as G1 was, it would have been so much better with like packed houses. I mean, there's just, and the match quality was great this year, but it's still, there's still that element missing, and WWE and AEW even more miss it. Although, I mean, I do like the fact that the Thunderdome is kind of a cool looking thing, and AEW does the best they can, but it's just, it's just not what pro wrestling is meant to be. But it's like out of our control. It's like a broken record, and ain't gonna happen. Nothing's changing anytime soon. So
today actually is the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and going into SmackDown, we had 4 matches announced. I figured, we got SmackDown, they'll announce some other matches, and in fact,
they did announce one.
They announced 1 match. We have 5 matches for a show that's coming up at the time we record this in 12 hours. We've got Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in an I Quit match. Where
in the cell.
Yes, Hell in a Cell match. And if Jey loses, he and Jimmy need to take orders from and acknowledge Roman as the tribal chief. And if they don't, they are banished from the family unto future generations.
They're banished, and all their children are banished. Yeah.
I find it hard to believe this stipulation will be adhered to.
Yeah. So the idea is that Roman Reigns is going to be making so much money as the top star in WWE that he's going to take care of the entire family for generations.
Yes.
But
that's pretty impressive for a company where a lot of these guys, the storyline is that they're in poverty.
Yeah.
They're going to be really upset when they find out what Roman's making. He's paying for families for generations.
Yeah. But if they don't know their place, then their
all off the table.
Man, their side of the family's out of the picture. Yeah.
And if Jey wins, he will be the new tribal chief.
I guess so. Yeah, I think that Jimmy's getting involved in some way. Like Jimmy's going to quit for Jey, or Jey's going to quit because Roman threatens Jimmy, or Jimmy's going to turn on Jey. I just think that Jimmy is playing a part in this finish. I don't know this.
Well, listen, I don't know what they're going to do, and they may do nothing like this. But on SmackDown, they did do an angle at the end where Jey is sitting there on the big screen with this mask on, and he's cutting this promo. And then he pulls the mask down to reveal that, in fact, he is Jimmy, and Jey is in the ring. So, I mean, I don't know how you would do it, but, I mean, you could do some sort of deal where they switch places and Roman causes his brother to say, I quit.
Yeah, I could see that.
His brother pulls him out of the ring or something like that and takes his place. I mean, you could do something like that. But I guess we'll see. I thought that was very clever, that angle they did where you thought it was Jey and he pulled down his mask and it was Jimmy. That was really good.
I really liked on the SmackDown show, there were a couple of things I really liked. I really liked the Mysterio angle. Seth, the Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah and Rey Mysterio. I mean, there's one aspect of the angle I won't say I didn't like it, but I would have done differently. But as far as the gist of the angle, I thought that was really well done. I thought all the Roman Reigns Jey Uso stuff was really good. And you know, the Seth Rollins Murphy match was a very good match. I don't know why it was there and not on a pay-per-view.
We had the return of Daniel Bryan in the ring with no advertising on FS1.
On FS1,
we had absolutely no announcement of Seth versus Murphy. They're blowing that feud off. I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, the Seth thing should have been on the pay-per-view. That was ridiculous to put it on FS1 with no announcement.
They're not even on the pay-per-view.
Well, maybe they're going to be added. I don't know. We'll find out. But they should. That match should have been on, because that was a pay-per-view match. They went like 19 minutes or something like that. They had a long, really good match with, and all the twists and turns at the end, like you would put on a pay-per-view. And now, but it's like it was before their smallest audience, because that FS1 audience is going to be, whatever it is, it's going to be their smallest SmackDown audience of the year. So they threw away a match, Rollins and Murphy, that had been built for months with no advertising ahead of time. It's just there. I couldn't believe it. There they are. What are they doing? They're wrestling. But I thought the Daniel Bryan thing was worse, because here's the deal.
We didn't even know that he was going to be on the show, much less wrestling on the show.
We knew he would be on the show, but we didn't know he'd be wrestling on the show.
When did they announce he was going to be on the show?
I knew he was going to be on the show. I think that he was on the show last week, wasn't he? Yeah, so I knew he would be on the show.
I don't think he wasn't last week. What was last week?
Last week he did the angle with Sami Zayn. He was on the show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I knew he would be on the show. I didn't. But if he was going to, here's the thing. If he was going to be on wrestling, obviously they should have, number one, shouldn't have been on this show, but it should have been built up like Daniel Bryan, first match in 5 months, right? Instead, like even when the show starts, he's not wrestling on the show. He just happened to be doing some interview thing that turned into a match. Like, the other thing is his first match should not be in a frickin' 4-way tag team match where he's a bit player and he's not even the focus of the match whatsoever. Like the focus was other guys in the match. I mean, it's like they have, look at that babyface roster. Okay. I mean, literally Roman Reigns. Okay. They got to keep doing this Jey Uso thing because they got nothing. I mean, there is nobody for Roman Reigns to face. I know that there's talk of, Roman and McIntyre for Survivor Series, which I just would not. I do not. I mean, I would not make that match.
Why didn't we do a draft?
What? Yeah, well, Survivor Series is going to be all interpromotional anyway.
Dude, we got Otis and Miz on Sunday. They're on different brands.
I know. I mean, it's so ridiculous. Yeah, and Miz and Morrison were on the TV this week.
Yeah, they were both there. That's right. Yeah, because they had the court case.
Yeah, no, it was like they had spent so much time on that to the neglect of so many other things, trying to make that skit. And it's like, when that skit was over, it was just, to me, like...
Dude, I was so they do this series of skits with Otis and Miz and Morrison, and they're all in this courtroom, and JBL's the judge, and they're all stating their case and everything like that, and JBL's actually, as the judge, he's making good points, like, you're claiming that this guy is neglecting the briefcase, but he's got a year, and you're claiming that you got beat up on a wrestling show. It's a wrestling show, hello! So he's making all these great points, and then the whole climax of the whole thing is Miz hands him a briefcase, there's this ka-ching sound of money, and then JBL rules in Miz's favor. I was like, that's the payoff you came up with after all of that? You paid off JBL. How about Miz argues...
That's the Vince McMahon's real world experience.
Yeah, but you know what, Dave? If you think for 2 seconds... all you have to do is have Miz or Morrison argue that it was a Money in the Bank ladder match and you're supposed to climb a ladder and get the briefcase, and Otis didn't do it. Somebody else climbed, they dropped the briefcase, and Otis caught it. JBL says, God damn it, you're right. Sunday, we're going to do a ladder match, and this time, Otis, if you want the briefcase, you got to climb. Could you think of anything easier than that? They have to pay the guy off, which didn't even make any sense. Now they're going to have a normal match for a briefcase. Who cares?
Well, but I mean, here's the other thing. It's like the skit wasn't funny. I mean, it just kept going on, and it's like these things. It's like to make it work. I mean, it just didn't. I just didn't think it worked. Where's the punchline? Where's the thing? And the bride.
Then they got Ray there. Ray's one of the witnesses.
Yeah.
Ray says, I was in that match. And Otis left with the briefcase. I was like, bro, you got thrown off a building. You didn't see the finish. You just lied under oath.
Well, he just, whatever. He was there. He was in the match.
He was thrown off the building before the guy got the briefcase. He's acting like he was a witness to him getting it.
No, he was just part of the match. He never said that I saw it. He just said that I was.
Well, why would you have him there otherwise? Everyone saw it. They could have called any fan in to watch the pay-per-view.
Because Ray is there, and I guess they had to make use of it. You're trying to make sense of something that...
I am trying to make sense of it because it's dumb.
It just wasn't even... it just didn't... I just kept waiting. Okay, what's... the one thing that... I mean, there were a few cute things, like Miz's own lawyer turning against him and saying, they got a good case, and then Miz firing the lawyer and everything. That was...
I got the briefcase.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, okay... But it was like, that was like the only thing that was okay. Like the rest of it, it's like John Morrison's testimony was just ridiculous. And then, you do the whole thing. So Ron Simmons says, damn, at the end, which I guess is okay. People probably wanted that out of it. But, and Teddy Long, was the court stenographer.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. When I was watching it, it was just like, these guys are so, it's like, JBL, Ron Simmons, Teddy Long, it's like they're freaking 15 years ago, 18 years ago, whatever it was when those people were around. And it's just like you keep going to the past. You keep trying to they're freaking, they're like old men who are trying to relive high school. That's what when I watch WWE, so often I see that. And it's just like, come on,
Well, Dave, at least in that case, it's like these are cameos by old legends. I'm watching Daniel Bryan at the beginning of this show saying that SmackDown has they have the best fresh young talent in the world.
Who?
I'm like, dude, I know you're trying to put over the brand, but come on. What do you mean you have the best fresh young team? You got one guy, Dominic, who's under 25.
Okay, so
that's it.
Okay, so I got to say this about Dominic. Okay, so... Because I remember, when years and years ago, with Sam Mushnick and Larry Matisick would always tell me, and I probably having to do with Fritz and David Von Erich. They made David Von Erich a big superstar right away. When he was younger than Dominic, David Von Erich was like wrestling Harley Race in front of 15,000 people and 11,000 people and all this because they ran a really great angle and all that. But the thing is that Sam Mushnick was a big believer in father and son angles. He said that they always work because the older fans can relate to a father and son angle. But the key to the father and son angle is that unless it is the son saving the father in the angle, you're going back in time. And it's like and that's never good. The greatness of a father and son angle is that you can immediately make a young star because people have respect for the father and they want to see his son succeed. And you play to that by making his son succeed, and you make the son a star because the father gets beat up and the son saves him. And the son is the star, not the setup man. And I'm watching this and it's just like, Dominic runs in there to save his sister and Seth beats his ass. It's like Seth beats up Murphy. He doesn't beat up Aaliyah because they can't do that. Beats up frickin' Dominic, and then finally Ray makes the save. And it's just like Seth's, it's like, how many people do you need to run off Seth's? You know what I mean? I mean, you're just making these again, they don't know how to make baby faces. And then the one baby face who they let look good is Ray. And it's like, Ray's the guy who's 45 years old. And I know that Dominic will probably never be what Ray is. Maybe he will. It'd be great if he was. I know Dominic, he's, for the amount of wrestling he's done, he's actually phenomenally good. So that's a good sign. But, he runs in to save his sister and he gets his ass kicked. And it's just like, how are you making stars? You know what I'm saying? they're not making stars. It's like, oh, this is how you make a star, by humiliating them over and over and over again. Well, you've been doing this to everyone, for years and years and years, and the only star you've made this way is freaking Daniel Bryan, and to an extent Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch was an accident, and Daniel Bryan was an accident.
They were both an accident.
I know. Well, but it's like, here you got, like, again, every time somebody new comes in and, there it is. Now they're on a new brand, and what do? You beat up Dominic again. And it's like, well, he's not, people argue he's not ready. You know what? David Von Erich wasn't ready either. He was, 20 years old. You know what pro wrestling is? Pro wrestling is an illusion. You make people ready. You make stars. Sometimes everyone's got a weakness. You hide the weaknesses. That's what you get really good workers as heels who can carry guys. That's the key. They can carry guys who really aren't that good, but maybe they have something. But you bring in new blood. That's how you bring in younger fans. It's not that difficult. I guess maybe it is difficult. It is difficult now. I shouldn't say it's not that difficult now. It is very difficult now. But still, when you do it wrong over and over and over again, it is far more difficult. It's incredibly difficult, actually, at that point. So, because then, the way that they book their baby faces, like literally the only time they can succeed is like the fluke. And those flukes don't come every 6 months. Those flukes come every couple of years. If you're like actively pushing someone to be that and booking them, in a way to get them over, you're going to have more success than when you're booking people to fail. But sometimes there's just something about them and the timing is right, where even though you're booking them to fail, they somehow succeed. It's like, whatever.
Two things I want to mention are Shorty G is no more. He has quit. Chad Gable is back. So I can start the 3-week countdown for him.
He should have quit. He should have quit for real.
Yeah, well, he wouldn't go anywhere if he quit for real. If he doesn't quit, he can work out his contract.
He's got to work out his contract. I know. But he needs to work out this contract and get out of there, because he's wasting his life away. And I mean, he knows it. Okay, but it's like you're in that situation. I mean, he does have no choice. You know what I mean? He does have no choice. He's got a contract, but my God. A guy that talented, like you even think, I don't even think he's getting 3 weeks. He may get 2 weeks.
I mean, they got to do at least 1 week of follow up. And then the other thing I got to mention is this.
Yeah, but look at what they did this week. Lars Sullivan, like, it's not like he got a whole bunch of offense on Lars Sullivan. I mean, he did get like 1 or 2 moves, but like it was just 1 or 2 moves. He was thrown around like he was a rag doll.
Yes, but in this dumb universe, the idea is that he was thrown around because he was Shorty G. And now that he's gotten rid of this gimmick, he can be an Olympian and an ass kicker again.
Yeah, a year ago, he couldn't be Shorty G because they kept throwing him around, and Shorty G was supposed to be the change. And he ended up in the exact same spot he was before, if not lower. Well, about the same, because he was as low could be before. And he's still as low can be, and he'll be that, in 3 weeks, like you said. And they need baby faces. Like, they need main event baby faces so bad. That's the thing with the Daniel Bryan thing it's like, if you look at Roman Reigns and who he can face next on that entire roster, I mean, who do you got? You got Seth Rollins, if you turn Seth Rollins, perhaps Ray, but Ray, I mean, you can do Ray, but, and it'll be great, but I just don't know that they're going to do it. And Ray's been caught in this other angle. And then Big E down the line, not now. He's not ready for it just yet. He needs more of a push. So you're by process of elimination, and Kevin Owens. But again, Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens, they haven't built Kevin Owens up at that level. I mean, I suppose you could. The only guy, because you make everybody else like, worker bees. You need a non-worker bee against Roman Reigns. Luckily, they had the cousin thing that was done so well that they managed to get 2 pay-per-views out of it. But you need somebody, and the only somebody you got on the entire roster is Daniel Bryan. You bring him in a freaking 4-way tag match where he's not even the focal point and it's not advertised and it's on FS1, and it's just like the guy needs to come in and somebody needs to make an impact, and he's the guy you need to make the impact with, because he's the guy you could do a program with Reigns with. And the one thing is that you're guaranteed great matches. And yeah, Daniel Bryan will lose at the end, but you'll have great promos, and Roman Reigns will, people will dislike Roman Reigns if they're going to dislike him more, because Daniel Bryan, when pushed, can be a really popular guy. But I don't even know who, what they're doing. They've pretty much they kind of told you that Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens is going to be one of the 4 tag teams going for the tag team titles.
Other thing I want to mention is they are doing, obviously, Bayley and Sasha Hell in a Cell. So the story was that Sasha was going to force Bayley to sign this contract. And in fact, she violently accosted her and forced her to sign, which is the very definition of under duress. No way this holds up in court.
Well,
unless they go to JBL's court.
We're not going to court, so
it probably will hold up.
We don't need to worry about it.
That angle was ridiculous.
A lot of wrestling stuff doesn't hold up in real life, but that kind of silliness that's just a part of wrestling.
Well, I thought it was dumb.
I thought it was just a wrestling angle.
She violently threatened her and put her neck in a chair and forced her to sign a contract against her will. Even in pro wrestling, that's ridiculous.
Hey, if you remember...
Should have knocked her unconscious and used her dead hand to sign. They've done that one before. That's also dumb.
That's been done too. Remember years ago when they finally got the power away from Hunter and Stephanie, and then what did they do? They threatened somebody, and was it Edge who just gave them back? Okay, you can have the power back. And then
I think it's not so much the look of the place. I mean, it's more, are there people there? Does it feel like it's alive? Does it feel like there are people... I mean, I've seen a million WWE shows where, they're in Corpus Christi today. They're in Portland today. It's I couldn't tell you where the fuck they were. They all look exactly the same.
UFC and WWE, they always look the same. Which actually I think is a negative. But that is what it is. They shoot the show the same. It always looks the same. It doesn't matter. You could be in Hong Kong and you could be in Washington D.C. and except for the how the spectators look at themselves. Everything looks...
But that's the point. It has to be the spectators. And I remember when the pandemic started and we had the empty arena shows, I got a lot of people that would send in messages to Observer Live. They would email, tweet, or whatever. And they said, I'm done. I'm not watching until the people come back. And at the time, I kind of thought, really? You're not going to watch just because there's no people there?
But it's wrestling.
But it happened. That actually happened. They stopped watching because there were no fans.
Yeah, no, wrestling needs people. It looks absolutely silly without it unless you work a certain style, which is like a Minoru Suzuki style. You can do that with no people and like Walter and Ilya Dragunov and beat the holy hell out of each other or like watching a UFC fight. You can do that with no fans. But the style of pro wrestling that the WWE teaches, those people were fishes out of water trying to work the sell and waiting for the fan response with no fans. I mean, it's preposterous looking. So now it's better. And it shows with the numbers. I mean, and there's also, I mean, I do have to say that as far as SmackDown goes, they've got 2 pretty hot angles right now. Although it's Roman Reigns is hot, but usually you need 2 to tango. And man, I don't know who's he going to tango with. I mean, this month's
it's got to be Daniel Bryan.
Oh my God! I mean, but the way Daniel Bryan was booked this week.
Well, I'm sure the idea is that Daniel Bryan's going to have to go through Jey Uso, and then after he gets through Jey Uso, he can get through Roman. I mean, they probably have some sort of storyline there, but in the meantime,
I guess.
I mean, for the next month, it doesn't matter because it's Roman Reigns and Randy Orton coming up in Survivor Series. So you don't have anything till December.
Yeah, but you should be setting something up. No, we'll see with Daniel Bryan. If it was going to be Daniel Bryan, they should have had a very different finish. I mean, they could do the post-match, but he needed to win that match. And there's no reason with Jey Uso turning heel that he couldn't have lost the match other than, I mean, I'm reading this as Daniel Bryan, mentally going okay, You know, I mean, just what he said. I'm not as good, and my job is to put over. You know, he's on the writing team, and he's my. You know, it's kind of like what a lot of guys. You got two sets of guys in power. You got the egomaniacs in power, who use the power to just get themselves over, and then now there's more than that. There's people who also look out for business and know that sometimes we got to win and sometimes we got to lose and all that. But then there's the ones who get power and think, okay, you know, my job is to get young wrestlers over. And I mean, I can see where Daniel Bryan's coming from.
Well, yes, but there's an issue here, and that is that you can't just go in there and just put everybody over. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, you don't see Chris Jericho going in there just putting everybody over. I mean, the idea is that he wins most of the matches, and then when it's time to put an Orange Cassidy over, you put the Orange Cassidy over.
Yep.
Then you've got to win some more matches again. So when it's time to put over MJF or whoever's next down the road. But Daniel Bryan can't just go in there. The thing about the match was, like, the match was good, but I'm watching this match, and I'm watching the Bryan start to do his comeback, and all of a sudden Jey Uso hits a splash and pinned him.
Right, it was so flat.
It was out of nowhere. It meant a little bit, but it was a waste of a win over a guy who is one of the biggest stars in the entire company.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it, and it was number one. It was a short match where half the match was during the commercial break, and we didn't get picture in picture, which we don't get on SmackDown anyway. But so it's kind of like, you know, you were nowhere near ready for it to end, and then all of a sudden, and just like super kick and frog splash, and it's like, that's not how you would work if you're going for the championship next. You know, I mean, you would, if anything, Daniel Bryan should have won. Then, you know, those two guys double team him, and then that's the thing. And the thing is, so Daniel Bryan's probably thinking, I just got to put this guy over strong because he's the young guy and I'm on my way out. But it's like, you know, I mean, he would know, and I guess there's an idea. I don't know who it would be, but, you know, Roman Reigns needs opponents, and, you know, I mean, that's the one thing when watching.
He does, but again, it's Survivor Series. So no, do you really want to build up another opponent for a month, and then we're just going to have this Roman Reigns Randy Orton match? I mean, he doesn't need an opponent until after Survivor Series.
No, but he needs an opponent getting set up. I'm not saying this guy Roman Reigns should be feuding with the guy on television this week, but there needs to be a guy, and there was no guy on this television show getting wins, and then, you know, getting momentum, and then he's ready for Roman Reigns. We don't have that guy. I mean, like Big E, if it was going to be Big E wasn't even on the show. So, I mean, and there's really no other alternative there other than, I guess, Kevin Owens. I guess that's the next best one. But if that was the case, he should have murdered Dolph Ziggler, you know, and he didn't do that either. He just had a match with him. So, they're not getting anyone ready. I mean, it's like not for November, but there's, you know, life doesn't end in November. We may, but it shouldn't. We got to go with the idea it doesn't. And then you got to be, you know, I mean, that's the whole thing. You got to be ready. You know, I mean, are they going to go in there and go, well, December's a throwaway show? Is December tables, ladders, and chairs, right? Fuck. We just had a tables, ladders, and chairs match on Wednesday. So now we're going to do, you know, the chair match and all that stuff. So maybe they think that we can just, but you still need an opponent for that match. And then January, I guess you can do the weak opponent because it's the Royal Rumble. But still, I'd rather have a strong opponent than a weak opponent. But that's one of the, you know, but as far as the other thing is, you know, I mean, SmackDown's got Roman Reigns, who's been tremendous.
Dude, all booking aside, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso's segments on this show were absolutely fantastic. The first segment where Jey Uso, he's in tears, he's crying, he hates this guy, he tells him he hates him. Roman's just calmly saying, I know, but this is what you got to do. The whole family wants me to be the head of the table. And so he gives him till the end of the show, and then Jey Uso does his match, he beats Daniel Bryan, and then he accepts, and he turns, and he beats the hell out of Daniel Bryan, and Roman's just smiling the whole time. Roman and Jey were fantastic on this show.
Roman and Jey were fantastic, and the Mysterio thing is a good angle.
You know, the thing about the Mysterio thing, too, was somebody had texted us, and they said that Ali was the best actor in the company.
I wouldn't say that at all, but
I will say this.
But she's a lot better than when she started, though.
From all of the backstage segments that they have done, I didn't think that she was very good in any of them.
Yep.
But I did think that in the ring on SmackDown,
She was good.
She had to tell her dad, I'm not going with you, and I love him. She was great in that segment.
She was good.
Yes.
She's improving. The angle's good. I know there's people who have qualms about it. I have no qualms about it. I know why you would, but I think I think people are overthinking it. It's kind of like my thought on it. But, I just think, that's the kind of stuff that draws ratings, and it's a ratings game. So, it's good. And then, the rest of the show, was a show. It's there. It's
Sasha's defending against Bailey next week. The storyline being that Sasha can never successfully defend the title, so I presume this will be the first time.
Yeah, she should retain it. I like that they do that because that's a true thing, because Vince always puts the belt on her and then takes it right off of her, and this time I don't think he's going to do it this time. And he shouldn't, but who knows? But and Bailey and Sasha Banks thing has been, pretty good, for the show. They've been good. They've been good for months. So they got some good. They've got good things going, and it appears. I hate to talk about ratings on Saturday because by Tuesday you'll get a different story, and it might be the same story and it might be completely different. But the rating looked good. As far as like the overnight number was a very strong number. What that means as far as the makeup of the audience and everything like that, again, Tuesday we'll know, and that'll be, we'll Tuesday I'll know, but Monday we'll know most. So, but it looks good, and I'm not surprised. As far as Smackdown goes, the thing on Friday night is it's not going to be going against major sports for a while, and that's going to help. And so I think that
number, by the way, was 2.133 million, so it was the best overnight number since September 11. So if it holds up, that would be a very good number.
Yeah, but it generally rises because the hinterlands is stronger than the metropolitan areas, and the first number we get is basically a prediction based on 55 markets rather than like the whole country. And SmackDown's been outpacing it in the smaller markets, so the final number is usually up about, it can be up 100,000 or more. It could be down too. It sometimes happens, but it's generally been up. So, it looks like it will be in excess of 2.2 million, which is, more than they've been getting. The competition's weaker. And the other benefit they have is that normally this time of the year, all the TV shows, start the new season, and you have all these, all the networks have their nice new shows. And this year, because of the pandemic and things not being filmed, that's not the case. They're going against, there are some new shows on Friday nights, but most, I think that one of the networks was new, and I think maybe an hour on another one, but there's a lot of reruns, which are usually not the case in October. So they, and one of the things, the difference between, there's a million differences between network, and I don't want to get into this, network and cable, but one of them is that there are 35 million homes that don't have cable at all. Sling, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay? And those homes, these are homes with television. So most of them get the network stations. Almost all of them do. So you're really, like 2/3, or actually, 70%, let's say. 70% of you're in competition with everything on TV, all the cable and everything. But 30% you're only in competition with the other networks. When the other networks are giving, you're not even in competition with the news channels, which are killer right now. So that 30% of the audience, you're in competition with between 8 and 10, really not much. So when you don't have a bunch of news shows out there, you're going to do better. So there's all these little factors that are playing into this, but some of it is that, again, it's a better location and it's a hotter show. The show, it was a good show. The characters getting over, or the key characters. I don't know about the depth, but the key characters are getting over, and And that's what drives the business anyway. So the Friday's doing well. I mean, as far as good TV and characters over and all that, which, you know, obviously for most of this year they were not doing well with that at all.